Weekdays from 11 to 1. It's time for Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. The first hour of Sportstime is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stat Scoresworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you on this Thursday afternoon. Yes, Brett is back after being off the last couple of days. He's back with us to wrap up the week these next 2 days. But we're with you for the next 3 hours. A lot to get into. We've got the NFL tonight with Thursday Night Football. We've got college football news. The Grizzlies get a big win last night over LeBron James and the Lakers. So plenty to get into over these next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing great. I was at FedEx Forum last night for the LeBron James show. There were a lot of jerseys in the crowd, a lot of all the different numbers for LeBron that he's worn and all the different stops he's been in. My favorite jersey, though, Darian saw it as well. Darian was at the game. Somebody had on one of LeBron's high school jerseys.
Oh, wow. That's
and it
awesome.
looked good, too.
That's
and
great.
it was a big guy, too.
Even better.
Yeah, so it was fun last night at FedEx Forum. We kind of had our cake and got to eat it, too, last night with LeBron goes off with a great performance, but the Grizzlies win easily. That's kind of what everybody wanted to see. LeBron didn't have a lot of help last night.
Yeah, we got the news, probably about 5:30 last night that both Anthony Davis and Rui Hachimura were both going to be out. And, I mean, Anthony Davis has been fantastic this season, starting the year. And so you knew, things were going to be a little rough without him. Rui has been a good kind of third or fourth scoring option for them. So, I felt pretty good when those two guys were listed out, but then, seeing the performance that this Grizzlies team had, really a team win, and then, Ja, really kind of adding some flair last night and kind of making it a bigger game against LeBron James and the Lakers was definitely a lot of fun.
I think necessary, especially after that playoff exit, not spring of last year, but spring of 23. That was ugly, and that's the one that Hachimura really came alive in against the Grizzlies and put it to the Grizzlies, and I like that Ja did it.
Sure.
We all respect what LeBron James has
100%.
accomplished, and but there's a difference between respect and on court deference, and Ja was showing him none, and I like it right in his face, and bring it on, big boy, and he's the biggest, baddest in the league. There's no doubt about that. I thought the reaction in introductions for two other Lakers, of course, for LeBron, what you could expect, and what he gets, I think, mostly, maybe except for playoff time, around the NBA, and that's that great career, all-time leading scorer, and getting ready to play at 40 years of age before the end of this calendar year. He turns 40 in December. He gets it. He deserves it. But last night I thought a really good ovation for Dalton Connect and for Austin Reeves.
Yeah, and a couple guys
kind of from this area.
Yeah, semi from this area. Certainly, Darren and I were talking about it. Definitely, yeah. I mean, Darren and I were talking about it yesterday. You had to imagine there were going to be a lot of Tennessee fans that in this area that went down last night to see Dalton Connect after the year he had last year. Austin Reeves, grew up not far from here, so that doesn't surprise me at all. And then obviously, what you're going to get with LeBron James.
And you're going to get a lot of Laker fans on those nights, and a lot of it's driven by LeBron. But I saw other jerseys, saw a lot of Kobe Bryant jerseys. You always will. And I think, I've said this before, I think after LeBron, that may start the end of it for the individual player. There's still going to be loud Laker fans whenever they come in, when they come in 20 years, because in 20 more years, they're going to win it. 4 or 5 more times in that time. Boston, not as much, but some. And a couple others, what Golden State did, but that will abate after this last dance ends that we keep thinking is going to end, but I don't know that it did last night. And there are a couple other teams, but it's going to slow down. Even last night, with all the people in hometown gear and the feeling in the building, it was fun. It wasn't packed, but it was a really good crowd. And it felt good to be back. My first time back at FedEx Forum since the Grizzlies season ended last year.
Yeah, no, you mentioned it. It looks like a really good crowd on television. I was not able to get down there, but definitely watched a ton of it, and certainly looked like it was a packed house for that one last night. And then, I mean, you look at the guys that you needed to step up, and anytime you're in a big game, whether it's just a big brand name or in a big game against a really good team, which kind of what you got both of last night against Lakers, you need your stars to show up. Ja Morant, 20 points. Jaren Jackson Jr., 20 points. And then the young guy, Jalen Wells, who has been thrown into the starting lineup because of injuries.
Great.
He's been fantastic in another great game last night. 7 for 10 from the field, knocked down 5 triples, finished with 20 points as well. So 3 guys in your starting lineups with 20 points each. I mean, that's exactly what you need.
And I've talked before about the expiration date kind of expiring for the front office in the first and the drafting success around Desmond Bain. They had the swing and miss with Zaire Williams. I think a miss with Roddy, probably a miss with LaRavia. This resets the clock. If you on a night when you have your first round pick and your second round pick both in that starting lineup, and while last night really wasn't Zach Edey's kind of game, he's been more than sufficient so far this year.
Yeah, he's been good. So. You look at the 4 games before this, was in double figures in all of those games. I thought last night was fine. You only played 15 minutes, but 8.7 rebounds. I think in 15 minutes, that's a fantastic stat line.
It wasn't his style game.
No, it wasn't, and so that's going to happen. And that's any center in the league runs into that. But no, I think Zach Edey's been playing much better. We talked about it yesterday as well. I mean, the rookie ladder came out last night. NBA put that out yesterday afternoon, and Zach Edey's number 1. You got Bub Carrington with Washington at number 2, and then Jalen Wells right there at number 3. And so the whole league is noticing what these young rookies in Memphis are doing.
And Jalen Wells, I mean, just feeling no pressure.
No.
21 years old out there against the Lakers and looking across there at LeBron James. That's got to be a dream come true. I don't know if he's ever been around him or met him at any NBA function or anything, but to go out there pregame and there he is down there. I mean, if you want to have the greatest argument, I mean, it's him or Michael Jordan. I mean, you could make a case for others. We're not going to do that today, but we might. But he's for sure in the conversation.
Absolutely.
And to this generation of players,
100%.
To a 21-year-old rookie in the NBA, he is. I mean, he's the guy, I guarantee you, over Michael Jordan. To Wells.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. And so, I mean, that was huge, I'm sure, for Jalen Wells last night. And then he goes out there and, kind of been what he's been all year long. He's never looked scared. He's never looked like the moment is too big for him. He just goes out there and performs and, did it last night, mentioned it. The 5 3-pointers is massive, and the Grizzlies went out and shot 50% from 3 last night. Attempted 34, knocked down 17. That's what you need to do, especially with this new offense that, everything you hear, it's going to be fast, but it's also going to be a lot more threes than maybe some people are used to with this Grizzlies team. And, so if you got a guy like Wells out there that can knock him down, it's what he did in college. And so if that can translate quick like it feels like it is, that's definitely going to be massive for the Grizzlies.
Grizzlies off tonight, back at it tomorrow night at FedEx Forum against Washington. Need to pick up that win. I just have this fear, come playoff seeding time, going to pay for those 2 to Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, that's 2 games that I think before the season, if you were going W's and L's, I think you had both of those probably written down as wins. But
didn't you?
Yeah, you had to have. But now both of them losses, and I think Brooklyn's been playing hard, and but I think at least win one of those games. But hey, that's okay. I think I was talking about it yesterday with Darren. I think these next 3 games are super important. And including last night's game. Lakers at home. That's a game that you wanted to win. You got that down. You got that win. And now these next 2 games. Home tomorrow night against the Wizards. That's a game you should win, especially being at home. You should take advantage of that home court, get that win, and then the next game on the road against the Trailblazers, another team that, very young. They're definitely in the midst of a rebuild. That's a game that you feel like you should be able to win on the road. And so, you could enter that next game where you play the Lakers again on what would that be, a 3-game winning streak, and then that would be 5 of your last 6 wins. And so I think if you're the Grizzlies, if you win 5 of your last 6 games going into those 2 big road games on the road against the Lakers, on the road against the Warriors, I think you feel really good about yourself.
You would have to, but Brooklyn they have 4 wins, and half the wins are against Memphis.
That's right.
I just fear in April that bill's gonna come due. In college football, kind of the breaking news of the day that Florida administration, Florida boosters, Florida athletics department, they're going to sit still with Billy Napier. Nothing's going to happen to him. And this is a little earlier than the Hunter Yurchek announcement last year around Sam Pittman. That didn't come really until right before the last game of the year against Mizzou for Sam Pittman last year. But Florida gets out there early in front of it. I could argue both sides of it, especially with this meat grinder November that continues for them. Georgia last week in the cocktail party that they were very competitive in and have been in the losses this year. It hadn't been a time that you maybe opening day against Miami, but it hadn't been many times that you just thought this team is particularly poorly coached. It may be opening day that they weren't ready for the U, but Miami – it's held up. So this week in Austin against Texas, next week at home in Gainesville against LSU, then Ole Miss in Gainesville, and then the state championship game in Tallahassee that I think they feel great about winning. And if they can get one more in there, they'll be bowl eligible. And that one could come from either LSU or Ole Miss at home. That's probably the arithmetic. But all the headlines are going to say Billy Napier, kind of the reprieve. He gets he gets not really vote of confidence, just nothing going to happen to him. I think the headlines should say Scott Strickland say for now. He's almost in the Florida and the money boosters and the administration too big to fail. I don't get why. Because I don't know. I don't see anything that significant he's done running that department, but they don't want him to fail. And whether it's now or for sure this time next year, if Napier's got to go next year around the 1st of November, then Scott Strickland's got to go.
Well, I think that's a really good point. I think it kind of shows the kind of where this department is going. And okay, let's give him one more year. Let's see what happens. We hear about
settling.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the Gators settling.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you hear everything about the recruiting classes and what he does. Getting those high school players in the door. You've got what you think could be a star quarterback in the young DJ Lagway. I think he probably comes back now with Napier returning. Still you never know with guys, but you probably feel good about it. All right, give him one more year, see what happens. Certainly your schedule will not be nearly as hard as it is this year, next year. And hey, if next year you can't get it done either, well then everybody's gone and we're completely restarting with somebody new, a new athletic director, and we'll go from there.
Here's next year, just opponents. Some of the dates are set. All the entire SEC schedule for next year will be announced after the college football playoff announcement on that Sunday, December the 8th. It'll be after that, but before the bowl game start, just like they did last year, and I'm sure they'll turn it into a big schlocky show since they have a network. September 6th, they play South Florida. September 20th at Miami. October 11th, Florida A&M. November 1st, cocktail party set, of course, in Jacksonville, and that's the last one for a few years being out of that while that's remodeled. And then the last game of the year at home against Florida State. The rest of the opponents, all SEC. Mississippi State at home, Tennessee at home, Texas at home. On the road at Kentucky, on the road at LSU, on the road at Ole Miss, on the road at Texas A&M.
Interesting.
I don't know that much lighter. Or not.
No, not that much lighter. And I'll be honest, his recruiting class was fantastic last year, but this year not as great as it has been the past couple of years. But hey, maybe he stays around and can lock down some commitments by saying he has that safety net behind him that he's not going to lose his job. But it's going to be tough. Brett, it's the SEC. Any team that's playing in the SEC, your schedule is probably going to be really tough because a bulk of your schedule is conference play, and everybody in the SEC is a really good team.
And then when you're Florida and you're doing this non-conference with Miami, and you do it every year Thanksgiving weekend in that state championship game, it's going to be tough for him or whoever comes in there after him. From what I've been told that Jeremy Foley and Steve Spurrier are very involved in all this, and Scott Strickland not as much on any potential new coach, and a lot of times, the rumors would come up about Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin never fanned a single one of those. Lane Kiffin or any representative of his, that was all media generated. Look, I've said it before. Lane Kiffin's going to leave Ole Miss someday. Sure. But all those people that think he's gone after this year, was going to go to Florida after this year, how many of y'all had him completing his 5th year there?
No, nobody.
At Ole Miss.
Nobody.
And the idea of him starting a 6th year, nobody had that after year 1 or after year 2 and all the Sokoloff-driven Auburn stuff that was just pure garbage from the beginning to the various places his name's been linked. Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, Oklahoma came up when they hired Venables. Oklahoma came up if we're going to make a move about Venables. Loosely tangentially to Texas. His name comes up for every single one of these jobs, and he's still in Ole Miss.
Yeah, no. So, I don't think anybody would have told you 5 years he's still going to be at Ole Miss, and credit to him and what the job he's done at Ole Miss. But
and he's going to leave someday.
Sure, yes.
He will coach his last game at Ole Miss someday. I don't know if it's after a 5th year or 6th year or 9th year, whenever it is. But I guess one of these days somebody can text, "I told you so."
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I told you so. I was right. He left. But eventually everyone's going to leave. But definitely interesting news on Billy Napier. I'm sure we're going to ask both our college football guests today about this news out of Florida. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Bill Bender from the Sporting News. He'll join us. We'll talk college football with him. College football playoff rankings came out earlier this week. Obviously, this news down from the swamp that Billy Napier's job is safe. We'll talk about last week's games, preview a couple games this weekend with Bill Bender. 3:45, we'll talk more about the Grizzlies and their win against the Lakers. We'll also start talking about tomorrow night's game against the Wizards, their final home game before a 3-game West Coast road trip. 4 o'clock, David Cohn, co-host of Crane and Company, usually joins us on Wednesdays, but nice enough to swap to Thursday for this week. He'll join us. We'll talk more college football with him. A lot of the same with Bill Bender. Looking back at last weekend, talking about some of the big games for this weekend. 4:30, Doug Kazarian from OnlyPlayers.com out in Vegas. He'll join us. We'll get some picks from Doug. I'm sure a Thursday night football play, some plays for this weekend in college football and the NFL, maybe even an NBA play for the night. We'll do that with Doug at 4:30. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Greg Gaston will join us to talk Tigers. A lot to get to with Greg. We'll talk about last weekend's loss against UTSA for the football team, their game tomorrow night against Rice, and then also we'll talk some basketball with him as the Tigers start the season 1-0 with a win over Missouri, but we'll turn around Saturday and take on UNLV in Vegas. 5:30, we'll talk about what's trending, and then at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure studio where family and fun come together. It's the arcade and fall sale going on at Family Leisure. It's starting to get a little more chilly outside. Make sure you stock up for the winter at Family Leisure and get that arcade set up, maybe a pool table, shuffleboard, maybe even an arcade system. You can get all of that at Family Leisure. Their spas, they're in stock and priced to move, and theater seating also available and on sale at Family Leisure. So check out Family Leisure, all the great things they have for this fall and arcade sale. Head over there, Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Like Bryant just said, always in our Family Leisure studios, wherever we are, just like I'm in our Family Leisure studios, extended in Oxford today and tomorrow, getting ready for Ole Miss in Georgia on Saturday afternoon. You can text or call the hotline at 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line, and all our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. We want you to hit us up. He's Bryant, I'm Brett, and we're with you until 6 o'clock. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on the very few remaining 2024s. The 2025s, they've taken over and always special leasing options. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be driving in style. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at LexusOfMemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, Brett, my top story of the day has got to be the Grizzlies' win last night over the Los Angeles Lakers. 131-114, the final score. Both Anthony Davis and Rui Hachimura did not play for the Lakers, but you look at those guys for the Grizzlies. Ja Morant, 20 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He had a block. He had a steal. Jaren Jackson, 20 points, 3 blocks, 6 rebounds. Jalen Wells, the young second-round pick, 20 points, knocked down 5 triples. Then you look at the boost they got from the bench. Jake LaRavia with 13 points off the bench. Jay Huff with 11 points off the bench. Scottie Pippen Jr. with 14 points off the bench. And then at the end of the game, Yuki Kawamura gets in and gets his first points of the season.
Yuki Mania.
That's right. Knocked down a pair of free throws to get in the stat sheet for the Grizzlies. Just a really fun win. The Ja Morant, he was energized to be out there against the Lakers, was going back and forth with the whole team, and LeBron went down, made a layup, gave him the too small on the court. LeBron comes right back down, hits a shot over Ja, where Ja kind of gets knocked down. He gives Ja the too small, so Ja goes right back down the court, knocks down another basket, immediately looks for LeBron, and then runs over to him and kind of gets in his face a little bit, kind of bumps him, and gets the technical. But I think that's what you love to see from Ja Morant. I think the best part from that whole thing is after the game, reporters asking him about what happened, what he feels about the Lakers, and this is what he had to say. I don't like them. They knocked me out of the playoffs, and then last year we had a game, and they came here and popped it on our home floor when I was in street clothes. I wasn't tonight. I think Grizzly fans love hearing that. I remember a couple years ago, and, I think it was maybe after Ja's rookie season or after his second year, and a lot of people saying, okay, well, when this rookie contract ends, he's going to L.A., he's going to be the next Lakers star, he's going to be the next Laker great. Now he's saying, I don't like the Lakers. They come here and beat me when I'm out. I'm going to go and show them, and he showed them last night.
Good for Ja. Don't do the too small to Yuki. That's a cheap shot.
That's right. No.
Nobody can do that.
No.
You think Yuki's 5'8"?
Except Yuki, Yuki, I've seen him on the bench. He gives the people the too small. They taught him the too small. He's on the bench telling people too small.
Early high heart.
Oh, jeez.
Who's taller, me or Yuki?
You might have him, Brett. I don't know.
You think I can post him up?
Well, maybe.
I don't think so.
Nah,
I don't think so. In the energy he brings and the Japanese media, the contingent, it's incredible.
I believe it.
In the building.
Yeah,
they're everywhere covering him as the phenomenon that he is. It's a great story.
DeMichael's told us that he is the most popular basketball player from that country right now, even bigger than Rui or anybody. He's the biggest right now. Maybe the shortest, but he's the biggest.
Our Yuki, I like it. My top story, big bad Lakers were in town, but just how big and how bad are they right now? I look down there and I see J.J. Redick on the bench. That's not Pat Riley or Phil Jackson as the head coach, and except for LeBron, that team looked too small last night. No AD, heck, no Rui Hachimura, who usually plays like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar against Memphis in Memphis. But I looked down there and I saw Dalton Connect and Austin Reeves and Gabe Vincent blown out, and they're not very good. I didn't have the Lakers in my preseason pick. I wouldn't have them now. Last night, though, it was historic. LeBron and Bronny, they combined for 41 last night.
How about that?
39 from LeBron, 2 for Bronny.
How about that?
And that was about it for Faker fans to be happy about.
Yeah, no, not a lot for them to be happy about last night at FedEx Forum. But hey, a couple weeks, maybe I guess a week, we'll see them again in Los Angeles.
Do any of the betting sites have combined points in a game for LeBron and Bronny?
That's a great question. I don't think so. No, I haven't seen it. No, I haven't gone out looking for it. But
well, if you had the over 40 last night,
you got there. How about that?
Bronny assisted with 2 free throws.
Yeah, you got to love that if you did somewhere out there have that bet, but I don't know how many people did.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, Tiger football. They're in action tomorrow night rather than a regular Saturday. They'll play Friday night on ESPN2. It's supposed to kick off at 8, but it could kick off as late as 8:30 because before that on ESPN2, North Carolina and Kansas. So there is that slide that ESPN has if that game goes long. But Memphis will take on the Rice Owls, a Rice Owls team that just picked up their third win of the season last weekend with an upset win against Navy. A very weird game against Navy, a game that was supposed to happen early in the day, but weather and rain was in the area pretty much all day. They didn't get that game played until later in the night, but Rice wins the first game with an interim head coach after they made the decision last week to fire their head coach. Now they'll come to Memphis and look to get another win. I heard Ryan Silverfield on earlier this week with Greg and Eli, and we'll talk with Greg about this in a couple of hours. And one thing that he said, or that Ryan Silverfield said about this game is, that interim coach at Rice and that staff that's there, they want to be able to go to the athletic director and go to school officials and say, look, we are capable of doing this job. Certainly a win over Navy helps that, and a win on the road against Memphis would help that as well. So they're going to come in looking for a win. And for the Tigers, after the loss last week against UTSA, they're definitely looking to bounce back. A good opportunity the next 2 weeks with a Rice team that's really struggled this year, a UAB team that has really struggled this year, but definitely looking to bounce back after a really bad loss last week on the road to UTSA. And I should say, we do have some tickets for tomorrow night's game, so keep listening today. We'll give some of those tickets out later today. Some really, really good tickets from Sissy's Log Cabin this week, so make sure you keep on listening. We'll give those away later.
That's my not top story as well. It's a big game for Ryan Silverfield tomorrow night, and it shouldn't be. It should be a mail it in against Rice, but after that ugly loss in front of nobody down in San Antonio, okay, the music was loud, but there was no real fans there making any difference in that game. The dream season's over. It didn't, and it didn't come close to happening. No. It was over really, really fast, and I'm sorry that the conversation now has to change around Memphis. It could be the same thing for Ole Miss after the weekend, but it sure got to change now for Memphis because this league is epically bad. The idea of losing it all in that league, okay, but to lose twice, and it feels like now at least one more is coming Memphis's way, almost inexcusable. But there's going to be no firing, and it shouldn't be. No. But the conversation time now is scored. This team they're playing tomorrow night, they've got 2 conference wins. It's against the 2 teams the Tigers have lost to. Yeah. Navy's bad. Quit trying to shine that loss up. They're bad in Texas, San Antonio. Yeah. They're real bad.
Yeah, so a important, interesting game tomorrow night for this Memphis Tiger team, and like you said, it really shouldn't be. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we're talking some college football with Bill Bender.
I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jensensdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway and Park Place Center, Upper Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Highland Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
What happens when former real estate agents want to sell their homes? This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Benstorff Realtors. I am so proud and feel so honored when former real estate agents contact me when they want to sell their homes or someone has called them asking whom they should use. They know that I've been in the business for quite a while, have a great deal of experience, and know that I'm good at marketing and I'm part of a nationwide relocation network. Over the years, I've developed a highly successful strategic marketing program that can make the difference in what you make and when. Thinking of selling? Talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Remember what people often say to when you want the job done? Well, Shell done. So if you or somebody you know is thinking of selling, remember what other former real estate agents do. They call me at 483-0546 or email me at memphisrelocate.com. Shell Dunn Rosengarten at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546.
Ian Eagle here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Devin McCourty and I will bring you AFC North action to start Week 10 when the Ravens host the Bengals. Both scored 41 points in huge wins last week. Now, Joe Burrow and Cincinnati hope to get back to 500, while Lamar Jackson and Baltimore eye a move to 7-3 on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of the Pen, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing gift, because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, the Pen is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, the Pen is donating 30 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for DePentia and Yards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $400,000 awarded in Mississippi.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh cracked American cheese, bacon. And the second bite is like fresh cracked American cheese, sauce. Bacon. You get the idea. And now, get yours with $1 any size soft drink. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Exclusions apply.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's trying to build out of the Midtown area in a couple of spots. It's picked up a little bit more volume in the last few minutes. 40 West over here at Danny Thomas as that traffic heads across the Hernando de Soto Bridge back over into West Memphis. There's been no shortage of radar on I-40 out in Arkansas this afternoon, headed out towards Forest City. Still looks good as you travel south of Memphis on the interstate here on 55 southbound down through South Haven. Weimer's Jewelry, located at 7525 Highway 64, is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. Go by and see them. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Joining Brian and Brett now on Sportstime is Bill Bender, National College Football writer for the Sporting News, and on Twitter X @Bill Bender. Here's Bill with Brian and Brett.
Bill Bender joins us now from the Sporting News to talk some college football and a lot to get to. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. I want to start with the college football playoff rankings, the first of the season. They came out earlier this week. Oregon at the top. It sounds like everything I've heard feels like the most outrage, feels like not a ton of outrage, but the most outrage is BYU being down at 9. Some people not happy with Penn State being as high as 6. What were your thoughts? Did you have any overreactions to the first playoff polls coming out earlier this week?
Not really. I thought the committee did a nice job. It almost matches the AP Top 25. I know we did our bracketology on Sunday, and it was the same teams in the same order. I mean, the only thing we had different was in our rankings, Georgia was ahead of Ohio State, and I'm okay either way. I mean, either they're 2 and 3, and you can split hairs a few times, but I didn't understand the Penn State hate. I mean, a the game, but if that was such a big deal, why weren't we ranting about it the week before?
Bill, I agree. I'm going to save. I hope I save all the outrage for any announcement, but I'm sure not going to use up my outrage quota after the first night.
Not at all.
And it's almost like around NCAA tournament time, and Bryant can attest that I'm like this, and you've joined us during those times on topics. Win ball games. Here's the perfect example, and I haven't heard any outrage one way or the other. Nobody's saying they should or shouldn't be. But for Ole Miss at 16, this time next week or Tuesday night when they have it, if they win, then how high they vault up. Do they vault ahead of Georgia? Are they one peg behind Georgia? Do they get punished for the Kentucky game all year? And that may very well be a deal breaker when they get down to examining a lot of two-loss team resumes. But that's fine. If they win, you're going to have all that. If they lose, you know what we're going to say about Ole Miss? What do you prefer, Citrus Bowl or the Gator Bowl?
Pretty much. And I think if they win, there's a chance that they could vault 4 or 5 spots into that 12-team field. And, Hop, obviously the loser of LSU, Alabama, this is their game. This is their opportunity, and this is an all-in moment for Lane Kiffin and the program. Escalated a little bit, in my opinion, by the fact that they're not – Lane Kiffin won't be going to Florida. We got that nugget today that Billy Napier will be staying for another year, which I actually think is the right play by Florida, given how they're competing. And, it's going to get rough this last month for them, but I think they might have something with him and DJ Lagway.
And, Bill, I think a lot of people, a lot of places, football, basketball, anything paying out these exorbitant salaries and having to pay off these out years for somebody that's not working, I think it's coming down to this. Do you want to spend this much money now paying off a coach, and then you got to go pay the new guy, or do you want to go in for one more year and use that money for NIL? Last weekend when I was in Fayetteville, I had a high-ranking Arkansas administrator tell me all the plans to remodel Bud Walton Arena, they've been scuttled. Other than some paint and some freshening up of the place and some other things, maybe a little more extreme than paint they're going to do. But John Calipari said, I don't want 1 cent spent on suites and skyboxes. Let's get that money for ball players.
Yep, and that's a game changer, too. You're seeing stories about Michigan trying to flip this LSU quarterback commit, Bryce Underwood, and I just read something today that said $10 million over 3 or 4 years. And I'm like, what are we doing? But this is part of the game now. And that money and that part of the budget is part of the game now, and I think we will see more of that. So to your point, the side effect might be, do we really want to pay this buyout? Do we really want to get rid of this guy? I mean, I don't think Florida State, I think, could go 1-11, and I think Mike Norvell will still be there. The only coaching changes we've had so far, Brett, are group of 5 guys, and it's easier to do it there. So I think this may work out to be an unintended good consequence that Power 4 schools will think twice before they, get rid of a guy and have to pay all that money.
But A&M doesn't have any regret for doing what they did, and they came out in that first poll ranked 14. And if they win out, they're going to be somewhere on that bracket Sunday morning, December 8th.
Yeah, and I didn't say everybody deals in logic, right? Like they're a school that often defies logic in these situations, and that's well documented. But no, they're having a great year, and I know the tough part for them is. It wasn't for me, it wasn't so much, hey, they lost that game. It was the Le'Veon Moss injury was a killer. And, to lose your physical running back that's so valuable in that part of the offense, that was a killer for them, especially the way South Carolina is playing. And, I had this debate today, Brad, and you guys, I don't know, man, maybe a 3-loss team gets in. And South Carolina is one of those examples, or Ole Miss, or, the loser of Alabama LSU. They still have a pretty good resume, depending on how much carnage we get in the final couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You mentioned that Ole Miss team, obviously a big game this weekend against Georgia. And, if Ole Miss can win that, I think you feel a lot better of their chances in the playoffs. But, you look at this matchup, and for Georgia, Carson Beck in that game against Florida, they get the win. But early in that game, DJ Lagway comes out. He throws a touchdown. They're leading. He ends up going out with an injury, and they're able to come back with the third-string quarterback in there for Florida. But Carson Beck, 3 interceptions in that game. What have you made of his performance throughout this season?
They got to stop turning the ball over. Yeah. It's going to bite them in a game that matters, which could be this weekend if they turn the ball over a lot there. But to his credit, and I think it's the same thing about the Alabama game, same thing about the Texas game. Bounce back. He put together a really good second half against Alabama. When they needed to close out Florida, they did. They ended up winning the game by 14. They had a couple injuries in that game. The turf looked miserable at that place.
Yeah, it did.
So, that was another factor. But they've got to stop turning the ball over. We'll catch you at some point. But I think Georgia, I really am having a hard time reading this game this weekend because I don't know which Georgia is going to show up. If it's the one that played against Florida, especially in the first half, they'll get beat. If it's the one that showed up at DKR Stadium a couple weeks ago, they'll probably win by a couple touchdowns.
Well, it's going to be, regardless, it's going to be the Georgia team that unless you're Alabama, nobody has defeated them. I mean, that's the only team that's really been able to knock them off. Bill Bender with us from the Sporting News on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line in the Big Ten this weekend. I think one of the fun games of the year, Michigan at Indiana with the Indiana a 14-point favorite. Nobody had that in the preseason. I think the last time Indiana was favored over Michigan was Bo Schembechler's first year at Michigan. If they beat Michigan and then split within Ohio State and Purdue in the old Oak and Bucket game, they're in, aren't they, Bill?
I think so. This is the bit. As long as they don't get beat by 100 points by Ohio State, I think they would still be in no matter what. Got to be careful with the strength of schedule, though, and they don't have a strong strength of schedule. I would believe that it would be interesting to see where they fit. To your point about Michigan, they beat them in 2020. The last time they beat them before that was 1987 when they had Ernie Jones and Anthony Thompson on a Peach Bowl team. So I don't think they can look past Michigan. That's my way of saying that. I think the Wolverines have a pretty good defense. Don't know if Will Johnson's playing. They just have struggled so much on offense that it makes it really difficult to pick the Wolverines to pull an upset in that game.
Yeah.
That 87 team for Indiana, they came here to the Liberty Bowl in 88. I want to say, Bill, who was their head coach that year?
Probably Bill Mallory.
It was Bill Mallory. I want to say he's their all-time winningest coach with a losing record.
Yeah, and that would be true. Both of those things are true. So, yeah, what it means to them is huge. And the way that they continue to find ways to win games, Kurt Cignetti, he's getting dangerously close to locking up Coach of the Year. And I think that's something to keep in mind as we get into the last few weeks of the season. But, yeah, if they win this game, they beat Purdue and don't get blown out by Ohio State, it would be really hard to turn away an 11-1 Indiana football team with that resume.
Yeah. Bill, when you look at this SMU team, they had a big win last week against Pittsburgh, 48-25, that final score. Their only loss was against BYU. They're the first team outside of the playoffs right now at number 13. If they make it to the playoffs this season after buying their way into the ACC, what would the story be after this season about this team that is, not taking any money, basically playing for free in this conference, making the playoff in their first year?
Well, their fans would probably tell you best investment ever.
Yeah.
Way to get it done, and they believed in us, and it paid off, and all those things. And what a story it has been. And I think that you look at their schedule. One, I think they should have been in the top 12 in these first rankings anyway. Two, their schedule's set up that they should be fine. The hard part's over. They just got to get through these next 3 games without losing. Now, obviously, the ACC championship game would be taken into account, but I really like this team. I like Kevin Jennings, Rhett Lashley. They're averaging over 40 points per game. They really took it to Pitt last week. They made that a home field advantage, and they definitely deserve the spotlight. So of all the realignment stories, yeah, they've emerged as the one that who knew that at SMU realignment would pay off the most.
Yeah, they're a fun team to watch. But, Bill, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy this weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Great. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill Bender, with us from the Sporting News. And, Brian, it looks to me like the math on the 12 teams right now, 4 from the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. You fight it out over who the 4 would be.
Sure.
4 from the SEC, so that's 8 of the 12. Mm-hmm. The one group of 5 team, yep. So that's 9. Notre Dame 10. Mm-hmm. Then ACC champ, Big 12 champ. That's what last weekend did.
Yep.
It probably cost ACC and Big 12 second teams.
Right. Yeah. That's what it looks like right now. And I mean, obviously still a couple more weeks to play, but I think you knew that those two conferences, with how tough they are, the Big Ten and the SEC would kind of have that upper hand, right?
And both of those teams rooting hard. And I don't know where a stumble comes for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Maybe next week at it's sure not Saturday against Florida State. Maybe next week against Virginia.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe last week. Well, they still have Army, and that's going to be some atmosphere at Yankee Stadium. And maybe last weekend of the year, Thanksgiving weekend, and their big national rivalry against USC. But USC's changed quarterbacks,
sure.
And that loss is killing LSU.
Yeah, oh, it absolutely is. But you're right. I mean, both the ACC and the Big 12, they are cheering hard for anybody that plays against Notre Dame the rest of the season, because that is the big blockade in front of them right now.
Thanks so much to Bill Bender from the Sporting News, our guest on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies, and fun to be there last night and see that great Sissy's Log Cabin in-line, in-zone seating area for people to sit in, and also the floor seat lounge. And when you go back there, and you can see in the display case all that beautiful jewelry just there at FedEx Forum, but you can see it all the time at 4542 Poplar, over 9,000 square feet in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more. Just the Rolex section inside 4542 Poplar is stunning. It is knee bending. I mean, it's just incredible what you see in all that beautiful jewelry. And this is the time of year for someone special in your life, for a lot of engagements. They have the Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, like the engagement rings, all the necklaces, the Mickey Moto pearl section inside Sissy's Log Cabin. It's just gorgeous. They've got so many diamonds and so much more since 1970, with all the locations across the Mid-South, supporter of Tigers athletics, and a sponsor of our Look Back at the Weekend in the SEC every Monday. We do that at 4:30. The largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry around. Official jeweler for the Memphis Grizzlies in FedEx Forum with the floor seat lounge. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, let's get to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about the Grizzlies, their win last night over the Lakers, and their next game tomorrow night against the Wizards. We'll do that next on Sportstime.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You want breakfast. You really want some breakfast, but you don't want to make breakfast. You really don't want to make breakfast. Making breakfast is a pain. How are you going to cook the bacon? Bake it, fry it, microwave it. Then how about your eggs? Fried, poached, then you'll want some bread. Want to mess with whipping up a batch of biscuits? Of course not. That's a lot of dishes. That's what Sunrise is for. Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar will make you the best breakfast you've ever had, and you don't have to lift anything but a fork. Just go to either Sunrise location and let them do the work. Oh, and if you don't feel like making a burger for lunch, go to Sunrise.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of Cashew Crunch, of Heavenly Hash, of Turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown. And in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check you have a full tank of gas first before road tripping through the desert.
Empty? Seriously? Maybe I can walk.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Maybe I can't.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Catch your Grizzlies tomorrow at 7 p.m. when Jaw, Jaron, Dez, and the rest of your Grizz host the Washington Wizards on Military Appreciation Night presented by Ashley. Arrive early as the first 5,000 fans receive a Grizzlies dog tag. Secure your tickets today at Grizzlies.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stack, Sports Movie, and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got a couple minutes left in this first hour. And Brett was just telling you before the break about our friends over at Sissy's Log Cabin. They've been so nice to us to hook us up with some tickets for both Tiger football and Tiger basketball. And with a couple games left in the football season, they're giving us some tickets for tomorrow night's game against Rice. So we're going to give away a 4-pack right now of tickets. So 4 tickets for tomorrow night's games. And these are some really, really nice chair back seats and also access to the field lounge. So these tickets include all-inclusive food, drinks, and etc. on the field. So give a call. The first caller to the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. You'll receive a 4-pack tickets for football versus Rice tomorrow night, and also those 4 tickets to access the field lounge for tomorrow night's game against Rice. You don't want to miss this. I mean, a great opportunity to go and see that game tomorrow night in style. Make sure you call in. Landon will hook you up with those tickets. And phone line already blowing off the hook. But Brett, we already talked about it earlier in the show, but that game last night between the Grizzlies and the Lakers, it lived up to the hype that we were hoping a Grizzlies and Lakers game would live up to with having LeBron and Ja against each other.
Yeah, it was special. It always is for when the Lakers show and LeBron, whatever team he's on, rolls into town, and you could feel the fun energy. For me, it was real fun being there at my first game. 1-0 already to start the year. I didn't do anything, but I got there last night. I didn't have any effect on the outcome of the game. But it was fun. The pace was real fast last night, and that's what the Grizzlies want to do. But for this front office, with these players these rookies that are starting, 2 rookies start last night, they can really have a one to be proud of with how they've composed this team. And if the Grizzlies can get any blessing of good luck with injury and get some guys back, and then have no more to add to it, this can be a real fun year. I don't think it's a championship team, and I don't know that it's even. I don't think it's a Western Conference Finals team, but it's a long time until the end. Things can change, and they could be, but it can be a really fun year.
Yeah, no, it could be a great year, and I think that was kind of the spark you wanted to see this team. You're still waiting to see Ja get to full strength and Jaren to get to full strength, but definitely last night seeing Ja in that situation and kind of going up against LeBron. I mean, that's got to get you excited. That was the best part of the night. It was awesome.
I don't mind at all. But I did see this quote today from LeBron. Did you see the quote about his reaction?
I missed it.
And he kind of swatted it away. His quote was, "That's just two guys from the inner city. That's what it's all about." End of quote. John's hometown, is it big enough to have an inner city?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
I mean, what's the population of it?
It's not very big.
And who knew Akron had an inner city?
Yeah, how about that? No, I did love, speaking of LeBron James, I love the quote. I don't know if you saw this last night, obviously being at the game, but Rob Fisher after the game interviewed Scottie Pippen Jr. and kind of that walk-off interview, and Desmond Bain comes running up and kind of pushes him and looks at Rob and kind of leans into the mic and says, "Y'all see the way he snatched the ball from that old man over there?" Referring to LeBron James as that old man over there.
Right in front of the Grizzlies bench. So John's from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, it's Dalzell, Dalzell, South Carolina.
Okay. Right.
Population, 3,417.
Wow, small town.
I mean, you could take 5 steps and be in or out of the inner city, couldn't you?
That would, if there is
what's
an
the
inner
suburbs?
City. Yeah, no, that's a great question.
You can't have an inner city if you don't have suburbs, can you?
That's right. So very
Dalzell, South Carolina.
That's right.
Now
divvy them up, a couple hundred to each part of the city, and then that's how you get it, I guess.
But I saw good competition. Didn't bother me at all. I don't think it bothers LeBron. I don't think much bothers LeBron James.
No. I think he
can go scoreboard with a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
Record book,
100%.
bank account.
Yeah.
Years in the league. Yeah. Scoreboard.
100%. So now the Grizzlies off today, tomorrow night at home against the Wizards, and this is a game. Wizards coming in 2-4 on the season. This is a game that especially being at home, you should go out there and win this game.
Yeah, but those, again, like if we were doing, we're never going to threaten the audience with NBA W's and L's, but if we were doing them, I would have both of those against Brooklyn and this one tomorrow night as W's preseason.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you definitely want to give want to win these games, especially early in the season against these Eastern Conference teams and being at home. But we'll see tomorrow night. Hopefully, a good atmosphere for this Grizzlies team that now one game over 500. But let's go ahead and get to a break. Wrap up this first hour. When we come back, we're talking some more college football. David Cohn usually joins us on Wednesday. Nice enough to join us on a Thursday afternoon. We'll talk to him next.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wallow said hello.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, locations at Ridgeway and Park Place Center, Poplar Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli, it's wholesome food and no surprises.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia, to Central Park in New York. But many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Memphis' original sports station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy, weekday mornings from 7 to 10. Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure studios as we start our second hour. Joining us now, usually joins us on Wednesdays, but nice enough to join us today. David Cohn, the co-host of Crane and Company, joins us now to talk some college football. David, thanks so much for joining us. Earlier this week, we got the first college football playoff rankings of the season. Looked very similar to the AP Top 25 poll, but the first time we actually get an idea of what the bracket is going to look like and what it could look like. What did you think of the reveal? Did you have any overreactions, anything that didn't sit right with you after the first reveal?
Not particularly. I thought it was pretty close to the top 12 that we put out on Crane and Company the day before. They had Georgia and Miami flipped, which I think is understandable right now given Georgia's strength of schedule, and plus the win at Texas obviously is one of the best wins in the country. Miami will continue to get chances to remain undefeated as they move forward and to win their conference. So that was not a big deal to me. I think it was interesting to see the Group of 5 team Boise State being right at 12. Because obviously a Group of 5 team is going to make the college football playoff this year. And I wondered if the committee felt the need to put them in the top 12. Even if you had them ranked 18, 19, or 20, they would still make the bracket if you were to play that out right this second. I find that particularly interesting because I think that Boise State could legitimately win out, and they have many teams in front of them who still have to play each other. Right? We're going to get to see Ole Miss and Georgia play this weekend, for instance, right? And so some of those teams are going to come back. I just wonder if that creates an opportunity for the Group of 5 team in the college football playoff to not just be in it, but to be one of the first 4 byes because, say, there's an upset in the Big 12 championship or because there's an upset in the AAC conference championship. That was particularly interesting. Also, Notre Dame right there at 10. Obviously, they have the great win over Texas A&M, and that's kind of offset by such an embarrassing loss against Northern Illinois. But I think that, again, some of those teams in front of Notre Dame, they're going to play each other. They could fall back. If Notre Dame wins out, I do think they'll be a college football playoff team, despite the fact they won't play in a conference championship game. And I think they could, since the committee's already saying, hey, we value you at 10 right now, there could be a possibility where they move up into that slot where they actually get to host in South Bend.
And, David, I talked about that in the preseason. I talked about it through the prism of the University of Memphis Tigers doing it, that if you were good enough, like it appears that Boise State's going to be, that doesn't mean you're not automatically the 12. You could be the 4, and then that could kick, maybe ACC champion to a 9 or 10 seed, and not necessarily the 12 seed, but just because you're the Group of 5 member, that doesn't mean you're 12 seed no matter what, and Boise State's doing it. And I also said in the preseason, when one of the reasons why I want 12 at-larges, if you're good enough as a Group of 5, you play your way in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Certainly, we've had plenty of discussions here on Crane and Company on whether there should be an automatic qualifier for a Group of 5 team or any automatic qualifiers at all like you're talking about. And certainly, I've been an advocate for a Group of 5 playoff. I come from Statesboro, Georgia, where Georgia Southern is. I'd love to see them be able to have their own postseason. Maybe we can combine it with their own postseason plus an opportunity to make the college football playoff. I don't know. Obviously, it goes without saying, if I were in charge, a lot of things would be different in the sport that we love. But this is what we have to deal with, and I agree with you completely. So just hypothetically, you could see a scenario where Colorado, with 2 losses but only one of them in conference, could continue to win out and all of a sudden, win the Big 12, and then you have a 2-loss Big 12 champion. Do they jump Boise State, who the committee's already put at 12? I'll give you another interesting scenario. Clemson right now. Clemson with 2 losses. But they only have 1 conference loss this past weekend to Louisville. What happens if Clemson moves forward and loses to South Carolina, who we just saw drum Texas A&M at home? Then Clemson could be sitting there 9-3, but 2 of those losses are to SEC schools, Georgia and South Carolina, only 1 conference loss. They go forward, play in the ACC championship game, win it, and then they're a 10-3 conference champ. Would they get an opportunity to jump Boise State or whoever ends up being the Group of 5 representative? And then the last scenario I'll leave you with on this topic, Army right now, still undefeated. They came in, I believe, ranked 25 in this latest ranking. So that's a full 13 spots behind Boise State. Now, if they move forward and they win out, they will have a win over Notre Dame. So that will sort of take Notre Dame out of the equation, and they'll get bumped up a little bit because that'll be such a great victory. But is it going to be enough to catapult them above a Boise State team who has one loss by 3 points on the road against Oregon? Or is that a scenario where we could see two group of five teams make it in the inaugural 12-team playoff? I still don't believe that's the case, but it's going to be interesting down the stretch.
Of teams with one loss. If you have two losses, okay, you got two losses. That kind of speaks for itself. But I'm thinking Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Boise State's loss to Oregon. It wouldn't qualify. Which one of those teams has the worst loss? Is it Notre Dame against Northern Illinois? Because after seeing Arkansas in person, the idea of Tennessee only scoring 14 against them, that's a pretty bad loss.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, Notre Dame should never lose to Northern Illinois under any circumstance, no matter where the program is at. And kudos to Northern Illinois for that victory. I mean, they're an old team, they're a disciplined team, and they went and won that thing. And so congratulations to them. I don't want to take anything away from that ball club. But, yeah, Notre Dame, you've got to find a way to win that game, especially after, going into the season, we were talking about this Texas A&M matchup is going to be such a great, whoever wins that game is going to buy so much equity, right? Because they're going to have not only a great win over a team that we think is going to do well for the rest of the season, but it sort of allows you at least one loss, one mulligan throughout the season. Well, Notre Dame ended up using their mulligan so early against Northern Illinois that we were having a conversation on, does that singular loss, is that bad enough to exclude you from the playoff, even if you do win the rest of them? And, my emotions got the best of me, I think, the day after that game, and I said, yes, there's no way Notre Dame can come back from this and make the playoff. Obviously, as we sit here right now, 11-1 Notre Dame team is going to make it, not just because of their brand. If you're able to move forward throughout this entire crazy college football season that we're seeing right now, and you only have one loss, then yeah, you deserve to make the college football playoff, especially when you're an institution like Notre Dame. And while USC is down this year, that's going to be the final game of the season. That's a rivalry game. They play it on the road. That would be a nice victory. And how crazy is it that in a season like this, we're talking about Army and Notre Dame is going to be a much bigger have a much bigger impact on the college football postseason than Notre Dame and Florida State, because Florida State's so bad this year at 1-7 that we can hardly even break the football game down. I think that tells you all you need to know about college football this season.
Yeah, Notre Dame and Army at Yankee Stadium. We need Grantland Rice there with the lead on a cold, gray day.
No doubt, man. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. And again, I'll just pose the question. I mean, if Army wins out and wins their conference, are they going to jump a one-loss Boise State team, or do we see two representatives, or does Army get out? There's a lot of interesting scenarios here at play.
100%. It was fun. I mean, seeing the bracket and what it could look like, the theoretical teams that could be in made it really, really fun the other night.
Did y'all hear anybody really freak, though? Did anybody really kind of just hot take lose it?
Oh, not that I've seen. I don't think that we saw anything that warranted. And again, it's not so much. We shouldn't care right now which teams are in there or what the scenarios would be for the teams playing each other. The why is much more important. Why are you putting these teams where you are? What's the ranking criteria? Because that proved to be such a big controversial factor last season. I mean, the entire time we've had a 14 playoff, I've heard one phrase: win and you're in, win and you're in, win and you're in. Well, Florida State did that. They won, and then all of a sudden we're going down and finding different bullet points. Oh, no. Actually, if one of your star players gets hurt, we can substitute you out. Well, obviously that came in at the 11th hour in a 14 playoff. Everyone started panicking because that was the first year in a 14 playoff that we saw more than three teams who had a chance to win it. I'd never seen more than three teams. Not all four teams that made it had ever had a chance to actually win the national championship until last season. And then all of a sudden, we were given seven. Well, when you take Jordan Travis out of it for Florida State, I think we can all agree they weren't going to win it without him, so that would move it down to six. but Georgia losing to Alabama in the SEC championship cost them a spot in the playoff. I think they could have won it all. And then obviously the Buckeyes only lost losing at Michigan. That team was good enough, I think, to do some damage if they had made the playoff. So anyway, 12-team playoff this year. All problems are solved, right? Yeah, I don't think so until you get to teams 13, 14, and 15, and they're going to be complaining just as much.
Outrage.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. And David, I promise you, I call my shot preseason, and whomever this applies to, if the shoe fits, put it on. I don't care. You knew on opening day at 0-0 the parameters, and if you didn't win enough, go whine somewhere else.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's why I don't think that this playoff has watered down the regular season. I actually think that it's enhanced
Not at
it.
all.
I'll give you an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling, I know you guys pretty well, you're going to get to the LSU and Alabama game at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll beat you to the punch here just
All
to
right.
help make my point, which is how many times have we seen LSU and Alabama play undefeated with such high stakes of winning that division, right? And you win the SEC West and you get a chance to go play in the SEC Conference Championship, and you win that, you can make the playoff. Or we've seen a scenario where LSU and Alabama get to rematch in the national championship. Well, in a year where the playoff has tripled in size, both of those teams are meeting this weekend with 2 losses each. And guess what? The stakes are as high as ever because both those teams know they can't afford a third loss or they're going to be kept out of the college football playoff. Now, maybe neither one of those teams can actually win the SEC this year, but I do think that a 10-2 LSU or a 10-2 Alabama makes the college football playoff. And so while in the past years, maybe we would have said, well, the fan bases of these two programs, they're so proud, and this is a rivalry game. Obviously, they'll be dialed in this weekend, but the rest of the country need not worry because both teams have 2 losses. That's no longer the case because I think if you put either of these programs in this college football playoff this year, they could do some serious damage. And so that's one example of where I think the playoff has helped enhance the regular season.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you on that. Talking to David Coney, joins us, the co-host of Crane and Company, joins us every week to talk college football. And the big news out of the college football world today was that Florida's going to stick with Billy Napier. He's going to be back next year in 2025. What was the conversation? I'm sure that was a big conversation on today's show. What were your thoughts on that decision?
Well, I'll start off by saying I never root for guys to get fired.
Sure.
I never want them to. I never celebrate guys getting fired unless, of course, there's some off-the-field behavior that warrants celebration for that. But mostly I want people around our country to thrive. I don't want them to fail. And so if Florida feels like they need to keep Billy Napier moving forward and that he could turn it around and have success, look, I'm always pulling for guys to do that. I will tell you right now, though, that I am surprised because we're sitting here, on the cusp of Billy Napier having 3 straight losing seasons in his 3 years there. And just for perspective, I mean, Dan Mullen went 34-15. That's who they fired to hire Billy Napier. Even some of the coaches there who were deemed, even less successful. Jim McElwain was 22-12. Will Muschamp was 28-21. Ron Zook was 23-14. All with winning records, and they still were fired because the expectations are so high at Florida. And I, for one, don't believe that the expectations have come down at all for Florida, which means that they must be taking into consideration the monetary factor of the $26 million buyout, and not that Florida couldn't come up with the money if it were absolutely necessary or if they felt that Billy Napier just had no future there and couldn't win football games. I just think it's multifaceted right now. Not only do you have the buyout, and keep in mind there's a lot of people around public institutions. I grew up in a family of academia. They get frustrated when athletic departments pay out tens of millions of dollars for guys to go sit on a couch and not to work and not to coach football. It is very frustrating for people there. I get that. But that's one consideration. Another thing is, you've seen guys turn it around before. Could you possibly have a situation like kind of like Jim Harbaugh at Michigan where all of a sudden Billy Napier, you put trust in a guy to stay there. He does turn it around. The schedule isn't always going to be as tough as it has been at Florida, even though next year it's not looking that much better. But then you could sort of curry favor with other coaches that you woo in the future, right? It says, hey, Billy Napier didn't do a great job there, but they did stand by him for 4 years. It's not like they're just itching to fire people. That gives another coach, sort of faith that he can go there and at least try and get his guys in. So there are some positives from that aspect, but I will say I'm a little bit surprised. Also, the transfer portal is one thing that I wanted to bring up. In a day and age when every single player on your roster could be playing at Miami or Florida State just a few months from now because you fired your coach, I think maybe some athletic departments and ADs are taking that into consideration. But yeah, I will say I'm just a little bit surprised just because of the precedent that's been set at Florida, that you can have winning records there and still not be good enough, and that warrants your firing.
Who wins between Georgia and Ole Miss?
I'm in the same situation that I was in with Penn State and the Buckeyes last week. I just need to see it, Lane. I need to see you go beat teams like Kirby Smart. Now, fair. I will say, Ole Miss playing Georgia this week, this is the best case scenario that you could have possibly asked for Ole Miss, considering that they already have 2 losses, okay, for a few reasons. One, the 2 losses, just like we talked about with Alabama and LSU, that puts your back against the wall. There's no more room for error. You have to win out to make the college football playoff at minimum, okay? Now, it might be nice if you were coming off of a bye week, but I think it's even better that you're coming off of a record-setting performance against Arkansas, because that sort of gives a lot of those players, especially on offense, confidence in the locker room to say, oh, everyone criticized our offense, but look what we just did against an Arkansas team that really, helped shut down Tennessee for a lot of that game. So you have the confidence of that. You have your back against the wall with the 2 losses, and you're going to be playing Georgia a week after a very physical performance with them against their rival in Florida, and a week before they host Tennessee. So all of that stuff, I think, bodes well for Ole Miss. But I'm sort of in that camp where, look, I need you to prove it to me first. You need to prove to me that you can win these type of football games. The craziest stat that I've heard in football in a long, long time is that Carson Beck, who's turning the football over at a clip that's almost unimaginable considering he was the Heisman Trophy favorite before the season. I think it's 11 interceptions in the past 4 weeks, something like that. Well, Georgia is averaging 3 more points per game when he's been turning the football over. 34 points per game as opposed to 31 points per game before that. That is insane, and that proves to Georgia, that says, hey, Ole Miss, it's not just good enough to, intercept Carson Beck twice in this game. That's not just good enough, because our defense is so stout and we can win football games in a lot of different ways. One question, though, I do have is, it was easy for Georgia to get up for Texas. You're going on the road. You're playing the now number 1 team in the country in Austin. Steve Sarkisian and them seem like world beaters. No one can beat them. No one's given Georgia a chance. It was easy to get up for Texas. Will Georgia get up for an Ole Miss team the same way, considering Ole Miss has 2 losses and Georgia historically handles them easily? That's the question I ask. If Georgia's able to get up for them the way that they should and not look past them, then I'll take Georgia. If not, I think the Bulldogs will have 2 losses as they host Tennessee.
Another team that I've been watching a lot in recent weeks from the ACC that I've been really, really impressed with is this SMU team. Coming in, kind of the weird story of, they're buying their way into the ACC. They're not taking any money, and you see what they do in the transfer portal, bring in a lot of talented guys. They lose to BYU earlier in the season. I heard a lot of people at that point kind of saying, okay, this SMU team isn't going to be what some people thought they would be, but now we know BYU are a really, really talented team. And then SMU this past weekend goes and beats a really good Pittsburgh team by almost 20 points. What have you made of SMU this year and right now right outside of that top 12? I mean, what would it mean for them if they could get in the college football playoffs in their first year in the ACC?
Well, first off, I'm really proud of Coach Rhett Lashley. He's a big fan of our show, Crane and Company. And I think before the season, I had him winning 8, maybe 9 games. My colleague Jake Crane had him playing in the ACC championship, and I thought that was crazy. But it was a 2-factor equation. Not only is SMU a good football team and Rhett Lashley's a good football coach, but also that schedule, right? They're sort of like in the Missouri of the ACC. I think that's a good comp. The schedule is very, very favorable. And, not only was it the BYU loss, which that loss is looking better and better every week as BYU remains undefeated, but it was more than just that. They just looked bad. They just looked bad early in the season, and Preston Stone was supposed to be the guy at quarterback, but they're running a 2-quarterback platoon system, and to me it wasn't working, but they've gotten that figured out with Jennings, and to beat Pitt so thoroughly the way they did is very, very impressive. And now, Pitt's going to have to turn around. They're going to have to play Clemson still this season. SMU's schedule is much more manageable. So I don't think it's crazy at all, especially now with Clemson having lost to Louisville. I don't think it's crazy at all that Jake's preseason pick of SMU playing in the ACC championship game could come to fruition. The question is, if they go and they lose that, let's say that gives them their second loss. Let's say they go and they lose to Miami, and they had the BYU loss on top of that. Is that good enough with the schedule they've had at 11-2 for you to make the college football playoff against, say, just like we just talked about, a 10-2 Ole Miss team that didn't have the risk of playing in their conference championship game, but played a more difficult schedule in the SEC? That's where it's really going to get interesting for the committee.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting debates on a lot of teams, and I think that's gonna be another fun aspect of this when you include so many teams. Well, as always, David, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy this weekend, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
David Cohn joining us from Crane and Company, like he does every week, usually on Wednesday, but nice enough to join us on a Thursday afternoon this week.
And David, I wish I could have said this for him to give his response, but I was afraid we were going to get a little time pressed. He talked about the comparison to Ole Miss and that tough SEC schedule. I come back to it's good. The SEC is real good.
Yeah,
it's real good this year. I don't think it's anything vintage. I've seen it tougher.
Sure.
I think a lot of people have seen it better, and it's going to come back to. I'm afraid with a grouping of 2 lost teams, a bunch of 10-2s in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's Ole Miss is 10-2, that means that's a win over Georgia. That's really going to stand out. That's going to put Georgia at 10-2.
Yeah.
And would that be enough for somebody to advocate for Ole Miss in that room where they beat them head to head? But you keep coming back to they lost to Kentucky at home as a 16-point favorite,
right.
And to date, to right now, it may change before they get in that committee room for the final reveal. It may not. Kentucky hadn't won since.
It's insane. It honestly is, and I think that's the thing is we're going to have so many debates and putting up. I mean, it's going to be just like the NCAA tournament in basketball, where you're going to be doing blind resumes, and you're going to be putting this team against this team, and how tough is this conference compared to this conference, and what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? So no, I'm really excited.
And Brian, when we do those blind resumes, let's just all be honest and fair. We know. All right, it was going to hurt Alabama losing to Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's made that look better.
Sure, 100%.
That all right, historically, that's a disqualifier, but in the 2024 season, it's not as much. Losing to Kentucky is a historic disqualifier.
Sure.
And it's a disqualifier in 24 when they haven't passed for over 200 yards since that game.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. But
so Ole Miss needs to win Saturday, and I think Ole Miss needs teams to lose.
Yeah,
they don't need that 6 or 8 grouping of 10-2s.
Yeah, no, it certainly doesn't hurt. You keep winning and other teams lose. That'd be great for anybody.
And Bill Bender, we're already in time crunch. If Bill Bender's talked about a 3-loss team, no way.
Yeah,
no way. You can tell me all you want about the strength of the SEC or the Big Ten. I'm sorry. You started in August and you lost 3 times. We got to reward somebody that didn't.
100%. I'm definitely with you. Well, before we get to a break, it's getting close to dinner time. I know Memphis is known for barbecue. You can get that world-famous Memphis-style barbecue any night at the commissary. With locations in Germantown and Collierville, stop in for lunch or dinner or get it to go. Start your meal with an appetizer like the cheese plate, chicken wings, or my favorite, the barbecue nachos. For more than 40 years, the commissary has been a staple in this area, and a big part is because of the quality food they serve. My go-to, it's got to be the ribs, but it's hard to resist that barbecue shoulder. Get it chopped or pulled, and get it by the plate or by the pound. Comes in handy with the sandwich packs. Feed the whole group with a 6-pack 6-pack, 8-pack, even a 12-pack. And don't forget about the dessert like the delicious banana pudding, brownie, or the lemon ice box pie. Check out the entire menu and catering options at commissarybbq.com. Whether it's a watch party for your favorite team, a tailgate, maybe even a holiday party coming up soon, let the commissary cater your next event. Give them a call, 901-754-5540. Make any event perfect. And it's getting closer to that time, the holiday season. It's that time again. Let the commissary do the cooking while you relax for the holidays. Choose from their in-service holiday specials. And remember these dates: Monday, November 25th, 6 p.m. That's the last day to order those Thanksgiving orders. And then Sunday, December 22nd at 6 p.m. That's the last day to place the Christmas orders. Get that smoked turkey or even the honey smoked spiral sliced ham. I am telling you, my family will go back and forth from year after year. One year we'll go with the turkey. One year we'll go with that honey smoked ham. And every time it is spot on and perfect for the holiday. So make sure you give them a call or go online and check out those options for the holiday season. But you want to check it out today, stop in at either location. In Germantown, open daily until 8 p.m. and in Carville, open till 9 p.m. for that world-famous barbecue, the Memphis style, only at the commissary. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break. When we come back, we're talking some wagering with Doug Kazarian.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, locations at Ridgeway and Park Place Center, Poplar Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli, it's wholesome food and no surprises.
They're pounding on the door. They're calling on the phone. They're threatening to close your business. If debt has your business on the brink, call Ray Reynolds, the godfather of credit. For over 40 years, Ray Reynolds has helped thousands of customers get millions in cash credit. It's no wonder why they call Ray the godfather of credit. He may even be able to raise your score above 750 before the end of the year. You could even get a new personal or business credit line up to $50,000 within days. If your credit needs a rebuild, call Ray Reynolds and receive a $1,000 cash credit card at closing. Raise your credit score to 750 or more. Call Ray Reynolds at 800-427-5991. 800-427-5991. Learn about Ray's secrets to success and how he can fix and improve your credit score to 750 or more. Call the godfather of credit rebuild, Ray Reynolds, at 800-427-5991. 800-427-5991.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage des nouvelles langues.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
If there's a better time of year to spend some time in the comfortable confines of Bell Tavern, I don't know what it is. This time of year when the air is getting crisp and college football, the NFL, the Grizzlies, and the Tigers are all playing is the ideal time to grab a seat at Memphis' best-kept secret. We say it all the time, and it's still true. You could go to some chain bar where people tend to make a lot of noise, or you could settle into Bell Tavern where people tend to act like adults. There will be cheering and there will be jeering, but it won't be chaos because at Bell Tavern, it's assumed you'll act like a grown-up.
Now back to Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now, he's out in Vegas. Onlyplayers.com is where you can find him and his picks. Doug Kazarian joins us now to talk about some of the big games coming up this weekend. Doug, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Another big week of college football. We now have the college football playoff ranking, so some of these games even more important. But I want to start with a game happening tomorrow night, a Friday night game. And one of these teams, it's been kind of hard to figure them out this season. Iowa on the road against UCLA. I've watched this UCLA team a couple of times. I can't really get a good gauge on them. Sometimes they'll look really good. Sometimes they'll look really bad. Tomorrow night, Iowa, a 6.5-point favorite on the road. The total is at 44.5. Do you like anything in this game tomorrow night?
You know, it's a great point because they have been a little confusing, but it's also teams that have changed during the season. And I'm a big believer in all sports is that teams are allowed to get better, right? Like young players are allowed to get better. We certainly saw this with your Grizzlies last year with some of these G League guys. I swear the scouting department for Memphis is second to none. But in terms of this game, Iowa at UCLA, like the Bruins have been, they could have folded. They could have folded given the tough start. But they've shown some feistiness, which is it's a good reflection of their new head coach and what's in store for the future out there in Westwood. But the Hawkeyes have changed quarterbacks, and clearly Sullivan is an upgrade over McNamara. And they have a dominant run game, and it will travel. As we all know, the rushing attack will travel. So I like the Hawkeyes minus the 6. I don't think it's going to be a rocking chair winner. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like Indiana was at UCLA. But there's not much of a home field advantage for the Bruins in Pasadena. It's an off-campus stadium for those who don't know. I like Iowa. I just can rely on this upgrade of quarterback play, this upgrade in the dominant running attack, and I just think they handle their business at UCLA. Although Garbers and that offense can be sneaky, I still think Iowa over 4 quarters covers the 6.
I don't know, Doug, anybody that's thinking that Kurt Cignetti and Indiana can win it all, but they're playing the team this weekend that did win it all last year. But that was last year. This is this year. Indiana, 14 over Michigan. What do you think in that game?
Yeah, it's crazy. In the summer, this line was Wolverines minus the 14. But Indiana's been such a nice story all year. But this is a team that is much more legit than people realize if you're doubting this team. Kurt Cignetti is a lifetime coach. He is a son of a coach. He was on Saban's first staff in Alabama and was the recruiting coordinator and recruited guys like Derrick Henry. And he was also the quarterback's coach. This guy has forgotten a lot about football that many coaches know. So I want to bet on this guy because they've been trucking everyone. Not only are they 9-0, they're 7-2 against the spread. And I think they're going to feel a little slighted after the rankings this week. And I also think this is a statement game in terms of recruiting. So I see no reason to back the Wolverines. Now, maybe they circle the wagons and keep this sort of close like they did with Oregon until the final seconds last week. But I think IU is going to be much more motivated to play this game than maybe Oregon was going into the big house. I like the Hoosiers to cover this in Bloomington. I know Sharp Money's been trying to fade them the last handful of weeks, including last week. Yeah, they were down 10-0 and certainly covered the 8 against Sparty. So I'm not jumping in front of this Indiana team. In fact, I'm going to ride this train until it stops covering.
Let's stick in the Big Ten and go over to Michigan's rival, Ohio State. They came in number 2 in the college football playoff polls earlier this week, and now they host a bad Purdue team this week. And Purdue 1-7 on the year. Ohio State big favorites at home, 38-point favorite right now. That total at 53.5. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, I'm tempted to just lay the lumber with Ohio State, but I think the over is probably a better play. I think the Buckeyes can name their score against this Purdue team that is so poorly coached, but could muster like 10 points or so, and I think the Buckeyes put up like 50 themselves. So I think this goes over this total by about 10 points or so, and I think it's safe to play the over, maybe an Ohio State team total if you want to get involved there, but this just has route written all over it. Yes, the Buckeyes have been sleepy in a couple starts this year, especially early in the year. But the way these coaches coach, and we've seen this with Oregon and some of these other teams, is they treat it like a long season, a marathon. And I wouldn't kind of care how these teams looked in September. I think they're conditioned to sort of peak and get better every week, and you want them playing some good ball in November. So I think they can really destroy this Purdue team that has been so inept all year.
When you talk rivalries in college sports, there's not many better than BYU and Utah. The contempt for each. There's a lot going into it. I'm not going to get into every facet of it, but I think people understand. And BYU undefeated, and they're 9 in the rankings. Utah can really wreck their year. And a lot of times in rivalry games, the one that can inflict the most pain on the other one is by ruining a good year, maybe when you're not having one. Utah 4-4. They're at home against BYU late on Saturday night. This is worth staying up for in our part of the country.
You know, it really is. And frankly, like you said, there's very few that are more intense, but I don't think there's a better name for a rivalry game than the Holy War. I just love it.
Yeah. There's the contempt. It's got religion
clever,
involved, Doug.
You know, there's a lot of people that have been trying to fade this Cougars team. A couple of weeks ago, I was one of them. You know, laying the short number with UCF, there was a huge line move, and BYU blew them out from the start. I like this BYU team. I think there's a lot to like. They're 7-1 against the spread. 8-0 overall. Now, as we all know, records are thrown out with this type of a rivalry, and I don't think the Cougars have won at Rice-Eccles in like a decade or something. It's just crazy. But with that being said, I'm going to lay the 3. Now, the market has moved against me from 4-3, but you know what? Like I said, the market moved against the Cougars a couple weeks ago at UCF, and it was the dead wrong side. I think Kyle Whittingham's doing the right thing, moving to another quarterback. I just think this team has offensively been super inept, and I know some sharp guys on the home dog here, but I'm just not going to take the bait. I'll go with BYU, and there's -3 now. I just think that's so inviting that I think Kyle Whittingham, you know, I don't know if the game has passed him by or anything silly like that. I just think it's been an off season for him, and usually they would have the advantage in the trenches and stuff in this matchup, and they might, but I have to lay it with BYU. It's just too short of a number.
Doug, election night, you tweeted out that why wouldn't one of the networks or cable news outlets, somebody should have on somebody like what you do with a Vegas perspective, because the gambling markets as early as 7:30. I don't know why in the world everybody had to stay up to 2:00. By 7:30, the gambling markets were telling you who was going to win. It should have been called at 10:30. It was over. You would be great in that role, Doug. You really would be. You should really go after that.
Well, I appreciate it. I just don't think they're interested in that because a couple reasons. One, we can't bet it in the States right now in the majority of the shops, the sports books. But I also think it's just one analytic, right? Like their polls, they have polls, but the betting market is also following the polls. So I don't think it's like another sort of different. I don't think it presents a different look. I just think it's a betting market that is very flawed. Like I hosted 3 podcasts in the last month and a half on the betting the political elections. And, on Monday, I'm just like, guys, they're grabbing value plus 140 on Harris. And I'm just saying, guys, we have too many reference points and data points. Like, it's going to be Trump, and it's going to be Trump convincingly. And that's because the polls were really even, so to speak. But we know from 2 previous elections that they were skewed, way suppressing the Republican vote. So if we just give that automatic boost, I mean, it's kind of like, the scoreboard being broken and we're keeping score in our, in our seat in the stadium, and and then we know the score, and then the books don't. Or maybe it's like UFC or boxing where we don't know what the judges are scoring, but we kind of have a feel for the fight. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. And then of course in a couple hours it was like -800 on the live line, and we didn't have the mail-in ballot like we did with COVID in 2020. So it just felt like an easy sort of handicap to me. But you're right. Like I thought the presentation of all the TV networks was good. I loved everybody. The TV nerd in me enjoyed the talent level at the touchscreen, but I was disappointed with just how confusing it was, and all these other numbers. Just give me a betting line. Like it's like we know what's going on in the betting
Skin
market.
In the game.
That became more telling. But I will say, in 2000, 20. The betting lines were really wrong because of the mail-in ballot that came in so late and what Bernie Sanders had warned us about. So I wish as a live bettor I had seen that clip before the election, not after. But, no, there was a huge move on the live line in 2020. So the betting market isn't always right with elections.
Doug, I think you're being way too kind, and I hope you don't get mad at me for saying this and editorializing a little bit. Here's the reason why I don't think they want somebody like you on there, because you know a lot more than they do, and you deliver it better than Britt Hume or Simone Sanders does.
Well, their job is to stretch, right, and keep you watching and things like that.
And keep us up till 2:00.
Well, and also like election night, and this is just the sports guy in me, but when I did local news, we would always tease the news team. It's like, the one time every 4 years, the newsroom has to learn how to operate like a sports department does every day, because we wait for results every night, and then we change our rundowns, we react, we recut video, because we are at the mercy of events that happen at night, whereas the news team will cover like some sort of court ongoings or whatever during the day, or a serious accident that happened. Yeah, exactly, in the morning, and they'll go live outside the courthouse in pitch black at 11 o'clock news, and we just chuckle that they're scrambling every election night because they're running around. It's like, we do this try doing a Friday night football show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Doug, let's get to a couple more games before we let you go. Two games that I'm really curious about. I'll ask them at the same time. This Army-Navy game, Army on the road, they're in the top 25 right now. They're still undefeated, but only a 4-point favorite on the road against a North Texas team. We saw North Texas here locally a couple weeks ago against the Tigers. The other game I'm curious about, South Carolina and Vanderbilt. South Carolina with that massive win over Texas A&M last week, but on the road now against Vanderbilt, they're 4.5-point favorites on the road. That total at 45.5. Do you like anything in either of these two games?
Yeah, well, let's start with Vandy. It's almost like a religion now. You cannot bet against Pavia in the underdog role. He's just an absolute machine. In fact, he's going to win outright. I do think South Carolina, and I understand the line move from 3.5 to 4.5. It's like I think they're going to cover here. I just can't pull the trigger because Vandy, has such a unique way about its offense. And like you said, South Carolina coming off a monster win, but I think Vanderbilt has their attention. And I don't think they're good enough per se in terms of like the swagger, like looking past their opponent like Alabama did earlier this year when they're coming off the Georgia win. I think South Carolina knows it has to bring it, but they've been really good in some big games. I lean South Carolina here, but I just can't pull the trigger. And as for Army and North Texas, I'll give you the home dog plus the 4. I think this all is about the Army quarterback being banged up. I mean, let's be honest. He's got, I think, a foot injury, and that's important with the Army offense, right? We all know the unique offense it has. So this North Texas offense is just explosive. They're going to hang 40 in every game. And the question is, can Army with a banged-up quarterback keep pace? So I like North Texas plus the 4, and it feels un-American, but I'll roll with them in that game.
Yeah, well, like I said, we saw them here a couple weeks ago. They can certainly put points up on the board. That offense can definitely roll. But, Doug, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck this weekend, and let's do it again next week.
Oh, thanks so much, guys. And obviously, thank you for the kind words as well. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you so much. Deserve. Thank you.
Doug Kazarian joining us. Always so much fun when we can get Doug on and, hey, get some picks for some weekends. You always got to love that. He gave us some really, really good picks for the weekend of college football. But let's go ahead, get to another break, and when we come back, it will be time for Big Number of the Day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Napa Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes, or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Billy, your gas light's on. We need to stop and fill up.
No way, Jen. Gas around here is too expensive. We can make it a little further.
Billy, listen to your big sister. You don't need to drive all over searching for the lowest gas prices. Do what I do and use Upside.
Upside?
Do you live under a rock, Billy? Upside is the hottest cashback app out there. It's free to download, and you get real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I use it all the time, and I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying the gas you have to buy anyway?
Yes, I'm looking at the Upside app now, and there's a gas station at the next exit offering 25 cents per gallon cash back.
Okay, I'm stopping to download Upside and fill up my tank. Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code KIND to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code KIND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code KIND for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Scott Graham here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up, the Bengals at the Ravens in AFC North action with two red-hot quarterbacks. Baltimore's Lamar Jackson, who's coming off a big win with a perfect QB rating, will face off against Cincinnati's Joe Burrow, who threw for 5 touchdowns in his impressive win last week. Ian Eagle and Devin McCourty will have the call on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
O'Reilly. You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh cracked American cheese, sauce, bacon. And the second bite is like fresh cracked American cheese, sauce, bacon. You get the idea. And now, get yours with $1 any size soft drink. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Exclusions apply.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy. Hello, Big Brand.
It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy. The big boy. You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, my big number today comes from the NFL. We haven't talked much today at all about the Sunday or the Thursday night football game tonight. The Bengals and the Ravens will face off. We'll probably talk more about that during What's Trending at 5:30. But my number comes from that game, and it is the number 102. Over his last 3 games, Lamar Jackson has 102 rushing yards and a passer rating of 8.6. It is the only time in the Super Bowl era that a quarterback has had a 3-game span with a passer rating of at least 145 while also having 100 or more rushing yards. I made that rushing yard my big number because, yeah, I'm sure the list of quarterbacks with 145 passer rating in a 3-game span, I'm sure it's pretty high. But when you throw what Lamar Jackson can do with his legs into the equation, it just makes him such a tough quarterback to play against. And certainly it's going to be a great quarterback matchup tonight in that game.
We've talked a lot already today with Bill Bender and with David Cohn and with Doug Kazarian about that game Saturday, Indiana against Michigan.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with my big number of 56. That's how many years? 1968, the last time Indiana was favored over Michigan.
Wow.
56 years since you were favored.
That's crazy.
Now they only met 43 times, but still 43 times in that 56 years. And Indiana, they're 8-0 straight up and against the spread this year. And they're 6-0 in the Big Ten. In the last 3 years before Cignetti got there, they were 3-24 in the Big Ten.
Holy cow. That's crazy.
That is. And I think people have them on upset alert. I agree with Doug. I think it's all Hoosiers.
Yeah, I mean, with how good they've been, Michigan, it's been a disappointing season. Certainly you thought they would take a step back after everything they lost from that championship team last year. But yeah, I mean, I think right now you keep back in Indiana until those wheels fall off.
And it is, and I like it, even though it was disappointing to lose there. Very disappointing to lose there this year for Ole Miss. I love Tiger Stadium. Yeah. It is big, bad Tiger Stadium. All the stuff you hear about it, it's true, and it's glorious, and it is for real. But it's not for Bama. Bama has really dominated there, and this is the 9th straight time they've been favored at Tiger Stadium, and that's in crazy. Good LSU years.
Yeah, that's a crazy number.
And they've won in every way you can win, including in 79, 3-0 in a monsoon. Alan McElroy with a straight-on kick. He was the last straight-on kicker at Alabama. It never got overhead high and was going through sideways like a frisbee.
That's even better. I love that. That's fantastic. Did you see who the guest picker is going to be this weekend?
I did, and what a great choice to have two.
Yeah, so Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn both gonna be the guest pickers. Obviously, both.
Now, are they romantically linked?
Correct, they are. They're dating. So that's kind of been the big story of Livy Dunn and all of her popularity, and then Paul Skeens and his popularity and emerging stardom in Major League Baseball.
She's probably making more.
She is. I don't know the exact numbers, but yeah, no, she
incredible.
Yeah, I believe last year the NIL numbers came out, and of all NIL sports and money making, she was number one by far. I mean, she's remarkable.
Is it mostly TikTok?
So it's a lot of TikTok, and through TikTok, she has a lot of sponsorship deals with like makeup company, clothing lines, different stuff like that, and she's cashing in. So good for her.
Oh, America. Isn't she great?
Right. Oh, man, it's fantastic.
You can do it.
That's right. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to have that, and, to have somebody that, with Paul Skeens, was just there,
started the All-Star game.
Yeah, and so I mean, was just at LSU and then turned around the very next year and is in the All-Star game. So that will definitely be a lot of fun Saturday morning for a big game. And I've seen it on social media. We're gonna have a live Tiger there on Saturday night.
Yeah, the league got rid of that a few years ago, and now it's back. And I don't think anything happened. If they can keep that big hog at Arkansas, but he's not on the field anymore like he used to be. So Saturday, I saw him somewhere and walked by, and people were having pictures taken with him. Where did I see him pregame at Fayetteville last week? But Mike the Tiger is going to be back on the field.
How about that? I love it. So bringing out all the stops for Alabama.
Now in a cage,
of course,
roaming around.
Got him on a leash out there and walking him up and down.
I don't think the leash would do much.
No,
it's a beautiful animal to see him in his area right outside Pete Maravich's Assembly Center, right across the street. I mean, that is just a gorgeous creature.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, I've never been down there, but I had a buddy that I went to high school with that went to LSU, and I remember when he was a freshman, he was sending me pictures and videos and stuff like that. Really cool, kind of the setup.
A long time ago, a different Mike, but one of the Tigers got out.
Oh, wow.
And some guy coming in late at night, and that's when they had dorms inside Tiger Stadium, so it was right there in that general area, and he's walking down the street, and, here, kitty, there he is.
Kidding. Holy cow.
Man, that could
wow.
end horribly.
That is, that's wild. Yeah, no, not the situation I would like
How'd you like to be coming in late at night and be facing a
crazy
1,200-pound cat?
Yeah, no thank you on that at all. But, it will be fun this weekend. Certainly a big, big game. But let's go ahead and wrap up our second hour. When we come back, we're talking a whole lot of Memphis Tigers. Greg Gaston, he joins us next. We'll talk some Tiger football. We'll also talk Tiger basketball. Greg was on the call Monday night in that win over Missouri on ESPN+. We'll talk about that win and obviously the game this Saturday against UNLV. So we're talking Memphis Tigers next with Greg Gaston.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporty luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have a full tank of gas first before road tripping through the desert.
Empty? Seriously? Maybe I can walk.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Maybe I can't.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby. At Jason's Deli, with locations at Ridgeway in the Parkplace Center, Popper in Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Highland Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com.
832-2363.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again, our Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand.
All right, back in Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios as we start our third and final hour. And as we do every single Thursday, we are going to talk some Tigers. Got to talk a lot of different stuff with Tiger basketball now started with their win Monday night against Missouri. We got to talk Tiger football and that loss against UTSA. But we do it every single Thursday with Greg Gaston.
From the Tigers sideline, it's Tigers Talk with Memphis broadcasting legend Greg Gaston. Hear Greg weekday mornings on Sports 56 mornings, along with Eli Savoy from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. On Twitter, X at Greg_Gaston. Here's Greg with Bryant and Brett.
Greg Gaston joins us now to talk some Tigers. Greg, I want to start with the football team first. They're back in action tomorrow night against Rice, but suffered the loss on the road against UTSA last week. We can talk more about the game, but I want to start off talking about Coach Silverfield. I've heard a lot of things said this week about Coach Silverfield, the job he's done, different things. I know y'all had him on earlier this week. I was not able to catch that entire interview when y'all had him on. I was able to catch bits and pieces of. But what did he have to say with y'all this week when he joined y'all in the morning? How's he feeling? Because you got to know, as much as all the fans are upset about that loss, nobody's more upset, and you could even hear it in his post-game press conference, than Ryan Silverfield after dropping that game Saturday.
Yeah, you hit it on the head, Bryant. He took ownership of that. He always does deflect things towards him and his coaching staff as opposed to the players. I think that's always the right thing to do. But he also made the point. He made the point on the post-game after the game to us. He made it during the interviews he did with the rest of the media after the game and on Monday in his press conference that, look, there was fault to be found with everybody. Offensively, defensively, special teams. There were mistakes made in all three facets of the game, and you do that, and more than likely you're going to come away with an L. And while this UTSA, with their record, looks like maybe they've taken a step backwards, and maybe they have, we know how they are at home, and they're just a different team at home. And the whole talk leading up to the game with Jeff Traylor and the whole NIL, and the fact that pretty much they would be waving the white flag if they had lost that game. They were ready. They were ready to play Memphis. They were ready to win that football game. And the Tigers had to play up to their capabilities. And they didn't. They didn't play that way. And therefore, they came away with a loss. But, you know, I give Ryan credit. I give the staff and those players credit. They owned the loss. You know, now they're going to try to respond and hopefully can win 3 more before the bowl game. But it is completely demoralizing to lose a game that pretty much seals your fate as far as getting to a conference championship.
Yeah, now a season for a team that had so much promise now will end up in a not very fashionable bowl game, maybe Military Bowl, back to the scene of what started it against Navy back on that campus at Annapolis. Greg, I had the Tigers having the dream year. They're not going to. I'm going to miss bad. And with that, the conversation changes for me. Nobody's going to be fired, football or basketball. Nobody should be fired football or basketball, not with enough of the winning and with the budgets being as tight as they are for everyone, but especially always, it seems like at the University of Memphis. But the conversation time is changing for Ryan Silverfield. There's been very little criticism of him by me, by us, and I think it goes with the territory. You lose to, I think, a bad Navy and to a really bad Texas San Antonio, criticism is merited.
Well, there's no question about it, and we've heard it screamed from the mountaintops this week. I think the talk of the team and AD Ed Scott firing his head coach with 4 years still remaining on his deal because the possibility of a fifth year, because there's a rollover in his contract if he wins 9, and that's probably going to happen. And so people are saying, well, let's cut our losses here and save $6 million or pay out $6 million, save $1.5 million, whatever the case was, whatever the numbers are. And I'm thinking to these people, are you guys delusional? I mean, are you absolutely out of your mind right now, today, talking about it this year? Look, it is completely unacceptable, I think, with this team this year not making it to the championship game because they put a lot of eggs into that basket. They had a returning quarterback, a 4-year starter, and we're looking at it like they're 2-7. They're 7-2, should win tomorrow, could be a different conversation piece on Monday if they don't, and probably will be, but I don't think that's going to happen. Should beat UAB. That gets you up to 9, and then you got Tulane. Now, I can understand the plight of people when they complain about what's going on because they have lost pretty much to those same teams. The UTSAs, they haven't played a lot, but the Tulanes of the world, and that's where you got to get over the hump. So, again, I do understand where people are coming from, but I mean, come on, let's not go overboard here. This new AD who started in the summer, Ed Scott, who is a sharp cookie, he's not walking in here to can a coach who's probably going to walk away with 9 or 10 wins, who knows, and then see what happens in the bowl game. That's just not happening. And in fact, Ed the other day at the coaches show, the radio show, said that he's very confident in the guy he has running the show. So anybody who thinks that should happen, it's not going to happen, number one. Number two, I also think being critical is warranted. Asking for his head on a platter right now with 10 wins last year, including a win in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and what could be 9 or 10 this year, I think that's ludicrous. I really, really do.
Agree.
And I think some of it, Brett, is personal. There are people out there that just don't like Ryan Silverfield for whatever reason. Maybe they feel he was gifted the job. He was handed the job. They didn't do the national
Nobody
search.
was opposed to his hiring, Greg. That's all revisionist history. Everybody liked the seamless transfer of power, as we're hearing a lot of those terms. People love the idea from a successful staff with Mike Norvell hiring his capable assistant. That is all a bunch of malarkey people now saying that there should have been some national search. Everybody loved that hire.
This guy is committed.
Hell, everybody loved the Larry Porter hire.
Right. We know what happened there. But Ryan has been with this university for, 7 years now? And in his 5th year as a head coach. He's been there from the
beginning with Norvell.
He's been there a long time. He is committed to this program. And going back to Brian's original question, it's hitting him harder than anybody. Believe me, they expected to be in the championship game, and I guess there's still this miracle chance, but more than likely it's over, and that's it's more than disappointing, right? It's something that I frankly did not think would happen. And what's very interesting is that you lose that initial game to Navy in conference play, and you're already behind the 8 ball. You needed help. You had to take care of business and needed help, which is like crazy thinking one loss, you're already in that situation, but that's the way it is. Specifically in this conference, it's top heavy. You got to make sure you take advantage of every other team, and they unfortunately weren't able to do it against UTSA.
Ole Miss and Memphis entered the season. If you signed up for a class, they signed up for a pass-fail class. If they got into the playoffs, nobody was saying make noise in the playoffs. Nobody had either winning at all or even playing for it all. It was get in the playoffs, and if you don't get in the playoffs, that ain't passing, that's failing.
That's a failure of a season, but it wasn't people saying, well, if they don't get it done, Lane Kiffin should be fired. If they don't get it done, Ryan Silverfield should be fired, right?
That's
but now the tone and the tune that the song they're singing has changed here over
and
the
they're
last
both
2 weeks.
fifth-year coaches. The parallels, Brian and I have highlighted it all summer into the march up to college football. The parallels are really ripe for both.
No, that's true. That's true. And you know what? With Ole Miss, obviously they have deeper pockets. But at Memphis, it's funny how a lot of people like to spend the money. Like they think it's just like falling out of the pockets of the people.
No, they don't want to spend their money. They want to spend Fred Smith's money.
That's what I mean. They want to spend whoever's money that's not theirs, right? And they're also probably the people that are not going to the games.
Mm-hmm.
That are complaining.
It really is one of the bigger just oddities in our area because we talk it, we're going to. We want to, and we have sponsors. It's very sponsor driven, but we want to. We talk Tiger basketball. We talk Tiger football. The text line just blazes away. The Twitter sphere just blazes away, and then nobody's at either games.
Yeah, that's it's demoralizing, I'm sure, to those players. Even though the coaches and the players take the high road, but when you don't see the fruits of your labor, and these guys are working hard, believe me, they wanted to win that football game. They're as disappointed as you are, and they don't see the amount of people they thought that they would see. And this isn't now reactionary to this loss. Oh, there may not be as many people at the Rice game. There hasn't been anybody there of substantial
Since SMU game.
Exactly. So that is not. It's not a hindsight thing, right? This is not.
And
a
that was
hindsight
a
thing.
Steve Macy work of art to get that game packed.
Those are few and far between. Now, when you taste it, you want it again. When you win 7-8 games, your fan base expects you to now win 9-10. When you win 10, they expect you to go undefeated. I understand that. That's fandom, right? I do understand. And nobody's sugarcoating this season to this point. But there's the possibility. It's not etched in stone it's going to happen. That's a tough game in New Orleans against Tulane. It always is. They should win their next two. I would be incredibly upset if that didn't happen. But you're talking about 19-20. Let's say you beat Tulane. That would be another 10-win season. You got a bowl game. 20-21 wins over a 2-year period. And you're going to snuff that out like it was the Larry Porter join the Revolution era? I mean, come on. Let's not compare.
Agreed.
Let's not compare here.
Yeah, not at all. Well, you just mentioned it. I mean, they should win these next two games, and I've brought it up a couple of times this week. You've kind of mentioned it during this segment, but I remember back at the spring game, and you were down there on the field, and every about, 10 or 15 minutes, you would get a different player, and up on the Jumbotron, I believe also on y'all's radio broadcast, you would interview a player, and all of them said the exact same thing. We know the expectations. We know that it's get to the conference championship. It's get to the playoffs. So in this age of NIL and transfer portal, I know Ryan Silverfield said after the game, we're going to find out who's really bought into this program, who really cares for this program. 2 games coming up that you should win, but I think we'll see a lot of the buy-in of this team, or if they'll just lay down and give up now that those expectations, those goals that they had for themselves before the season are out of the picture. What do you expect that we see tomorrow night in this game against a Rice team that just got done beating Navy? I heard Ryan Silverfield say on your show, their interim head coach and that staff, they want to make a statement to that university, to that athletic department, that they're capable of getting the job done at Rice and getting that permanent job. What do you think we see tomorrow night?
Yeah, first of all, you make a really, really good point. They never shied away. And I remember coming on this show and talking on my show about it so much that it seemed like every person I talked with over with the program that they weren't going to shy away. They were embracing the high expectations. So obviously, to not see it come to fruition is a huge disappointment. Again, outside chance, very minimal chance, though, at this point. It's not a 0% chance. I want to make sure that people understand where I'm coming from, but it's going to be highly, highly unlikely. So now, how much are you bought in? According to the coaches, and my coaches' meetings and talking to some of the players, we haven't had all of a sudden this rash of departures. Nobody's leaving. We'll see what happens with the bowl game, but it's not like there's a ton of NFL players on this roster, too. I think a lot of that has to do with the NFL when players depart and don't play in the bowl game because they're getting ready for the scouting combine and things of that nature. Okay, so it's a little bit different ball game here at Memphis. Not saying that there won't be players that will get their opportunity to play or at least have a chance to play in the NFL. But are they bought in to finish strong? I hope so. I think they are. The coaches think they are. Let's be honest, it's a little tough to get up for this Friday's game, short week, coming off the loss at UTSA. But it is a national game on TV, so you want to put your best foot forward. And this team has always, I think, been team first. This is not, and football's a little different from basketball. They got a lot more players. But I think these players, look, they want to showcase their skills, but they've always been team first. And I think that's important. I think they're going to come out and make a statement. I would be very surprised if you see them flounder and struggle. Now, Rice is an improved team. Record-wise, not so much. Again, people will look at the record and go, they're horrible. They're not horrible, but Memphis should beat this team, and I think they should beat them by double digits, I'll be honest with you. They have a very familiar makeup to UTSA on their defensive line. They're a physical defensive line that gets to the quarterback. They're not that good offensively. Kurt Warner's kid, who was at Temple, and Memphis beat him twice at Temple. He's their quarterback. He can get flustered in throwing some bad passes. He can also make some good passes. But can Memphis run the ball against this front for Rice? They struggled against UTSA, as most teams have. So that will be one of the stories within the story. But again, I will be very disappointed and very shocked if, Bryant, they come out there and you see them kind of going through the motions. I don't expect that.
Greg Gaston's our guest from the Tiger Sideline. It's brought to you every week by Dyer's Hamburgers, Crab Kings, and the Crazy Coop. Let's talk about the Tiger basketball team, 1-0. And can you imagine the dialogue and the conversation and the gloomy feeling if the second half had looked like the first half, but it didn't? The Tigers played great, and Coach Hardaway gets that win over Mizzou. Mizzou now 20 straight losses. Memphis Tigers don't care. They're 1-0. That's all that matters to them. Good win Monday night, Greg.
Yes, it's hard to believe Missouri has lost 20 straight over the 2 years. Now, this year, it's a whole different makeup of the team. They spent a lot of NIL money on those players, and if they can't win games, even in a tough SEC environment, then you got to start looking at the coach. You really do, because they have an awful lot of talent. And we saw some of that talent. Again, they're trying to find chemistry. We saw it just like Memphis is. We saw some of that talent in that first half. And it was alarming. It was concerning. It was only game one, but we had the Tyreek Smith news earlier in the day, so I can understand fans being very antsy on Monday night, whether they were at FedEx Forum or they watched it on television, and being able to call that game. I had a chance when Penny Hardaway came and did his halftime interview heading to the locker room, what he said to us, because I brought up the fact that they were getting beat down the court, transition basketball. They were just running you out of your own gym. And he said to the I don't remember the exact phrasing of it, but basically, we're going to be fine. We're going to get this together. We know what we need to do. We're going to fix it. Again, I'm paraphrasing. And then they went out, and by golly, they fixed it. And we saw the intense defense that we have seen in the past for Penny's teams, with the exception of last year, when it was noticeably absent for the most part. We saw intensity on defense. We saw them double team. We saw full court press, which we didn't see last year, and they made life hell for Missouri. So that was a great second half. If you see that consistently, you have a chance to win some games. They're not a deep team. You saw 3 guys foul out, and they were about to put me in the game, so they were running out of players. But I think this team, with their 8-9-man rotation, staying out of foul trouble, not getting hurt, knock on wood, could be a surprise. We've talked about this already, guys, on this show, about what to expect from Memphis. Nobody knows. Right. It could be one of those teams where it surprises rather than the team last year, which disappointed after all the pomp and circumstance going into the season.
Greg, I think my favorite thing from that game Monday night was seeing the reports and hearing Tyrese Hunter after the game talk about how in the locker room at halftime, he kind of, took that leadership role and, was calling guys out, was telling, hey, Musa, you're letting these smaller guards get buckets on you down low inside. Hey, PJ Haggerty, you're supposed to be our go-to scorer and you're struggling. You're not taking it to the basket. Let's be more aggressive. He's calling his teammates out. And I don't think that you could do that with last year's team. I don't think there was a guy that would stand up and do that in the locker room, and I also don't think those guys would have been receptive to that type. I know it's still early in the season, only first game of the year, things can change, but that already makes me feel better that there are already guys, even though this team is so new, you've got an older guy like Tyrese Hunter that's ready to take that vocal leadership role. I think they have other leaders that might not be as vocal. I think Nicholas Jourdain is a leader on the court, but maybe not as vocal. But I feel like Tyrese Hunter might be that guy, an older guy that's been around at high levels of college basketball to kind of take on that vocal leadership role.
I think most coaches want to see that. They don't want to have to be the guy. There are some coaches out there that give the fire and brimstone speech at the half. But for the most part, that was back in the old days. Now they would love to see a veteran player step up because while players respect their coach, they really have respect for each other if the chemistry's right. And for Tyrese Hunter, who's been around the game a long time, he is vocal. Musa, I don't know. I don't think he's that vocal. He's a veteran player. You mentioned, Haggerty's a young player. Jourdain's not a real vocal guy. He's a veteran player. So you have to have the right combination of it. It's got to come from a veteran player who's been around the block a few times and who has that ability to be vocal, to get in your face, but to pat you on the back at the same time. And Hunter seems to be that way. And I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't know who the leader was going to be. So I think that really helps out Penny because Penny, again, is not one of those fire and brimstone type coaches. So for Hunter to step up, it probably helped out certainly with what they were able to do in that second half.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, Greg, now Tiger basketball has to turn around Saturday afternoon on the road against UNLV. Obviously no line out just quite yet, but I saw KenPom has the Tigers winning this game on the road by 2 points. What do you know about this UNLV team? What do you expect to see in the Tigers' first road game of the season?
Picked fifth in the Mountain West. They got a couple of dynamite players. Jeremiah Cherry is really good. He had 24 in their win over Alabama State. Our friend Tony Madlock is the head coach there, and a couple of Memphians on that roster. So they gave him a good battle. UNLV is a good team. They're a solid team. They're not a great team. I don't think it's going to be some crazy, huge 18,000 people. I don't know what Thomas and Mack seats. So I don't know if the fans, and I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have those type of crowds. I don't think that will be a factor. Look, it's a long flight out there. Memphis starting their long journeys to San Francisco, to Maui. They're going to get frequent flyer miles, I hope. But I think this is certainly a winnable game against a team that's solid in the Mountain West, but not great.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be fun Saturday afternoon watching Tigers' first road game of the season. But, Greg, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Greg Gaston joining us to talk some Tigers and a lot. Tiger football, obviously, tomorrow night against Rice. And then Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock our time, Tiger basketball will play their first road game of the season against a UNLV team that last year ended the regular season winning 10 of their last 12 games, bringing back some of their key pieces. So that will definitely be a tough matchup. But before we get out of here and get to what's trending, let me remind you about our 5 o'clock sponsors. That's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. They're a talented team. They're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the Range Rover Sport, the Range Rover Velar, or the Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635 horsepower. And it's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. And don't forget about the Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call at 877-259-6169. That's 877-259-6169. Ask them any question. They can help you over the phone, or go check out those cars in person. Test drive them. 6335 Wheel Cove, just off of Quince. See all of those beautiful cars that I just told you about, or you can view them online at jaguarbluffcity.com. Let's get to another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-542-7711. 800-542-7711. That's 800-542-7711.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. We see a couple of accidents that are getting some attention out here. It's really wanting to load up now on 40 East from Sycamore View Road all the way out into Fayette County. It's also gotten heavier 240 as you hop on to 385 Billmore Parkway, but it's moving out through there right now. Let's keep it that way out towards Collierville as it starts to get heavier on 55 southbound down through DeSoto County. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service family-owned jewelry store right here in the Memphis area. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Here once again
Back in Sports Time, Bryant and Brett with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show. We got to talk about what's trending, and one of the biggest things trending today is Thursday night football tonight. Another Thursday night matchup on Prime Video, and tonight's matchup will be between the Bengals and the Ravens. Like I mentioned, that game on Prime Video, but as always, you can listen to that game right here on Sports 56. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock for Bengals and Ravens. While I'm talking about this, I'll remind you about our weekend. Tomorrow night, we'll have Ole Miss versus Grambling basketball coverage, starting with the pregame at 5:30. That first tip is set for 6 o'clock. Then Saturday, we'll have complete coverage of Ole Miss football versus Georgia, 12:30. That pregame starts, and we'll have complete coverage, like I mentioned. Then Sunday, we'll have Browns Chiefs at noon. No 3 o'clock game on Sunday, but then we'll have Sunday night football like we always do. So a busy weekend up here at Sports 56. You can listen to all that action right here. But, Brett, when you look at this game, Bengals and Ravens have been playing really, really well. It feels like ever since that win, it feels like a while ago, but that win over the Cowboys they had, that turned things up for them, and they've played a lot better since then. On the other side, this Bengals team looking to get back to 500. What do you think we see tonight?
Well, we're going to see two high-powered quarterbacks, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. And the division game, they had a while when they met about a month ago. Ravens beat Cincinnati 41-38 in overtime just last month. They traded touchdowns and before an interception by Marlon Humphrey late in the game. But Joe Burrow was running hot. He didn't take many congratulations over winning last week. I don't think he'll be very pleased, at least until they get to or get over 500, and they got a chance tonight coming into the game 4-5, in Baltimore at 6-3. I think Cincinnati, for right now, just this myopic time on this Thursday night, the 7th, I think they're probably playing a little better than Baltimore. It feels like they're tracking in a little better position than in Baltimore is going in a little worse position. The Baltimore defense, it's not close to a championship team, and the knock on Lamar Jackson is there's no knock on Lamar Jackson regular season. The MVPs show it. The knock is the playoffs, and I just don't think this is a playoff run team with this defense. I don't think they can go very deep, and they're asking him almost every time on offense, you cannot swing and miss. You can't. You got to get a hit every time you come to bat. And I don't think anybody can be that perfect when you get to playoff time.
No, it's really tough. But when you're a player of that stature that is so good, you have those expectations on you when you're Lamar Jackson. But you look at this game, you look at the line right now. Baltimore a 6.5 point favorite, but look at that total. You mentioned it. The two high-powered offenses, two really superstar quarterbacks, but the defenses maybe not as great. The highest total currently, at least for the weekend of football, set at 52.5. The next closest is I think I saw a 50.5. Yeah, Monday Night Football, Dolphins and Rams, 50.5. So at least Vegas thinks that we're going to see a lot of points in this game tonight.
And 2 out of the last three Thursday night games, 2 of them have been high-scoring affairs.
Yeah.
Last week, not as much. And Lamar Jackson coming off a perfect passer rating of 158.3 last week against Denver. Again, that is perfect. That's the one they all want to get to. And Burrow, he threw for 5 touchdowns last week in a win over Las Vegas. So look out tonight. Maybe a wild one on the prime.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And we kind of have talked about that. You really never know what to expect. It feels like we've gotten a lot of good Thursday night football games this year. Now every once in a while we'll get one. It's like, okay, maybe that was a snoozer. But, it definitely feels like these Thursday night games live up to the hype. And, last week with that, Jets and Texans game, that was really fun where you had, the Jets really offensively turn it on in that second half. Aaron Rodgers looked good. You had the spectacular catch by Garrett Wilson in the back of the end zone. So, if we can get fireworks like that, tonight for Thursday Night Football, I'll definitely be happy.
Extremely summertime high hard one.
Okay.
Let's say we're late June and outside the temperature's about 95, which is only about 15 degrees higher than it is today. But let's say it's late June. We're playing a lively round of high hard ones. And the question is this. You're starting an NFL team, and you can start it with Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. Who do you start it with?
Oh, geez. Wow.
That's impossible.
It's an impossible question. I think I will side right now with with Lamar Jackson, but it's a toss-up. I mean, I don't think you can
sure
go wrong
is.
either way.
You can't. So I'll take the Joe Burrow side because I think he still wins from the traditional NFL pocket more than Lamar Jackson, and that's what wins in those postseason games when it gets a little more narrow. Everybody's a little tighter. The offenses aren't as freewheeling, and by then the book on everybody. Of course, there's a good book now, Lamar Jackson, but the book on everything dictates really close games. Look at all these close Super Bowls and all these close playoff games, but you couldn't go wrong with either one. 20 touchdown passes this year for Joe Burrow, tied for second in the league with Jackson, one behind Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
that's all Heisman guys.
I mean, it's a great company, honestly. And, I was just about to say, you look at these two quarterbacks this year and just put their numbers against each other. They're so close. Joe Burrow, 2,244 passing yards. Lamar Jackson, 2,379 passing yards. Joe Burrow, 20 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 20 touchdowns. The only thing there's a difference, and it's not even that big of a difference, 4 interceptions for Joe Burrow this season, only 2 for Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson obviously has them with the ground game, but when you just go passing the ball, throwing the ball downfield, these two guys are very similar this season.
And I don't think Lamar Jackson, well, I know he's never had a receiver like Joe Burrow has.
Right.
I don't know if he's ever had even a great receiver. And Baltimore can do it other than just asking Lamar Jackson to do it. The Ravens have run for at least 100 yards in 42 consecutive games.
Wow.
That's one shy of the NFL. Almost was my big number of the day. That's one shy of the NFL record held by the Steelers from 74 to 77. That was Franco and Rocky Bleier. Even Preston Pearson was on some of those teams. And the Ravens, 2018 to 2021. But that was the Ravens without Derrick Henry, another Heisman Trophy winner that they'll have tonight.
Yeah, that's an incredible number, and it could have definitely been your big number of the day because they're just so good, and then they go out there and add Derrick Henry, and so I mean, what are you going to be, a worse running team when you add a guy like Derrick Henry? No, you're just going to get better, and so they're so versatile, and there are not many defenses that want to get up there against Lamar Jackson with what he can do, throwing the ball and running the ball, and then hey, if he's not going to hurt you, he'll just hand it off to Lamar Jackson, or excuse me, to Derrick Henry, and he'll hurt you.
With a great tight end in Mark Andrews with the Ravens. This game almost could have been both of ours big numbers of the day for the rest of the year. Baltimore 21-3 in primetime home games under John Harbaugh. That includes a perfect 8-0 mark on Thursday Night Football.
Wow. I mean, that's a great nugget. I might have to put that in my back pocket here in about 30, 45 minutes when I sit down to place bets on this game. Right. I mean, I might have to remember that.
Save it. So it's a real good one in this division. It's one of my two favorite divisions. The other North, the NFC North, my other favorite division, and maybe the weather will start feeling more like football as we get into all these November games.
Yeah, no, it's definitely getting that to that time of the year, right? When it's going to get a little cooler, you're going to see that weather playing a bigger factor, and something that will be different this weekend. We've got another global game in the NFL this weekend,
Sunday morning,
and it is
in Frankfurt.
I don't know what to think about it. The Giants versus the Panthers, 2-7 teams in Germany.
Yeah, that's early on Sunday morning. Should we really do the Germans like that?
Well, that's the thing. Is like, man, I was, I think I brought this up back, a couple weeks ago when the Jaguars were over there. I'm sitting at church and my pastor walks by, and before the service starts, I'm sitting there watching the Jaguars game. He goes, "What you watching?" I go, "Oh, the Jaguars are playing right now. It's a game over in England, so it's night over there, it's morning over here." And he goes, "They sent the Jaguars over to England? Why would you force people that you want to get invested into the game Why would you make them watch the Jaguars? And that's what I feel with this game. Why would you force the German fans to watch the Giants and the Packers? Let's send like the Chiefs over there, get them real excited about football.
That's right. Tonight, of all the great college basketball games we've already had and a really good schedule, and I will say it, if I'd have been here yesterday, I don't know if I'd had them on full upset alert, but I thought Lipscomb would be sneaky, really close late against Arkansas, and they weren't. John Calipari, what a debut for him at Fayetteville last night. But tonight in college basketball, there's not much to choose from.
No, not a big night tonight, and you only have one ranked team playing. But tomorrow night, I was looking at the tomorrow night slate already, and I already mentioned Ole Miss and Grambling tomorrow night. There's some good teams playing tomorrow night. Some good games on the slate. A big slate for a Friday night. It kind of shocked me, but you're right. Tonight is nothing crazy, that's for sure.
And we're getting into starting the multi-team events, the tournaments, and that's good. And it just builds and builds and builds. And it builds. I said it earlier, 3 weeks from today is Thanksgiving.
That's wild.
And that Thanksgiving week, you talking about the collision of all the sports. And I say it every year. It is one of my favorite weeks of sports for the year because almost every waking moment, there's something on the TV, whether it's, Maui that the Tigers will be involved in or other games out there around the country.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and, they were talking about, man, Maui's right around the corner, UConn, you just a couple more games until you go out there and play San Francisco, and then obviously UConn. I was like, well, we still have a lot of time until then. They're like, no, man, it's like a couple weeks from now. And so I had to look at my schedule or look at my phone at the calendar. I was like, holy cow, Thanksgiving will be here before we know it. It's been going fast.
Saturday morning for Tiger fans. Boy, almost another high hard one. Who do you pull for, Tennessee and Louisville in basketball?
It's a great question. I don't know. Maybe you just don't watch the game. Maybe watch football on Saturday. I don't know.
Because they're not going to tie. They were never going to tie in basketball. There's never the scenario they were going to tie in basketball. Rick Barnes in the building last night to watch Dalton connect, but his Vol Saturday morning against Louisville, that's on the ACC network. Why are they playing that great game on Saturday during college football?
It's a great question. I mean, you could have put that anywhere. I know tomorrow night, the Tigers football game, there's a slide in there for ESPN because before that game, you've got North Carolina, who's number 9 in the country, against Kansas in basketball, who's number 1 right now in the country. I mean, I think anybody would have loved to have Louisville and Tennessee on a weeknight, put it on an ESPN channel or something like that. But yeah, getting stuck on a Saturday morning on ACC network during college football season, not a great spot for a game that I think is going to be really, really fun to watch.
No, it's not. And for all that game watching, for all these games, and even for all the families getting ready to come in for the holidays. Look, I know when we get to holidays, it's going to be the traditional fare, but to all the people coming in, you're going to need a lot of food around. You're going to want to have that good taste from Jason's Deli, bringing more to the table. It's a family thing at Jason's Deli for 5 or 5,000. And the office, I don't know if we call them office parties around Thanksgiving as much as we do around the Christmas season, but there's always food around kind of that week and the week before. Get it from Jason's Deli, 5 or 5,000, low delivery fees. Same day, last minute orders welcome. That's when they step up and really come through for you when you feel frazzled, don't have it just right. Step aside, let them step in, and they've got you covered. And for tomorrow night, whether you're on Tiger Lane or Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, if you're down in the Grove, here's this for tailgating. The Beef Eater Slider Tray, 2 dozen hot roast beef mini sandwiches, provolone mayo and potato slider, the Deli Sliders tailgate package, cold mini sandwiches on potato rolls, 12 roasted turkey and 12 ham salami sliders, the fresh fruit and cheese tray, the fresh all the sweet tea, the assorted dessert tray with all the cookies. How about that for your tailgating experience? Even if it might be challenging in a little bit of rain in both places, you can count on Jason's Deli, whether it's dining in, to go, or delivery. It's wholesome food forever. It's a family thing at all these locations, like over across from MUS on Ridgeway Road, by the University of Memphis, at Poplar and Highland, down in Olive Branch, out in Cordova, and in all those locations, the complimentary free ice cream. Plenty of organic food to choose from, and that salad bar in every location with over 30 items for you to prepare it however you would like. I mentioned catering anytime, anywhere. Trans fat free, healthy, first franchise in the nation to be trans fat free. Check them out online as well at jasonsdeli.com.
Let's get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes. Or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger-buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
The best I-dos start with Sissy's Blue. Discover bridal jewelry worthy of your big day at Sissy's Log Cabin, along with our spectacular experience that comes with our promise of exceptional quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Experience our expansive selection when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Find your perfect engagement ring only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover. Once again,
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest Crunch Time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously Crunch Time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is that it's still early in the NBA season, but the Golden State Warriors are rolling right now. They had a really big win last night over the Boston Celtics in Boston. They're now 7-1 on the season. This same team that throughout the offseason we were kind of questioning, is the dynasty done? Are, Klay Thompson not there anymore? Was he maybe the piece that they had to have to continue to be that dynastic team? But so far, it looks like they are doing fine without him. A big reason is because of the addition of Buddy Hield, the sharpshooter. He's averaging 21.1 points per game and shooting 50.7% from 3. And this isn't a Buddy Hield that is coming in and knows he's getting old. Maybe that touch isn't there anymore and is taking less threes. No, he's still taking a ton of three-pointers. He's averaging like 8 or 9 3-point attempts per game. He's just making a ton of them, and he has been a huge addition to that roster. Steph Curry had been out for 3 or 4 games, but they were fine without him. Actually went undefeated without him. The only loss that they took was the game that he got injured in, but now he's back in a big-time win yesterday over the Boston Celtics. Now, again, it is still very early in the season, but the Warriors feel like they still have what it takes to be a team that's going to be around in the playoff picture, and maybe could even go on a run. I think that's more important because during the preseason, at least for me, I was looking at this Western Conference, trying to go through going, all right, well, with the Grizzlies back fully healthy, I think they'll make the playoffs. That means at least one team that made the playoffs last year is going to be out. Who's going to be that team? Well, I like this team as well. Who's going to take a drop? And it looks like maybe the Warriors, who I thought would maybe take a small drop, they might not take that drop that we thought they would take.
And that was a game last night, Brian, that everybody was expecting, thinking Jason Tatum was going to really drop the house on them, and real good win for Golden State. What I learned, Ole Miss, like Memphis, about to miss out on the dream season. Georgia is coming down to a must-win, or they're out of the playoff picture. And then conversations will change. Nobody's getting fired. Nobody wants anybody fired. Nobody wants anybody to leave. But just conversations change when you have that dream season and you don't capitalize on it. And that's why earlier I said conversations are changing around University of Memphis Tiger head coach Ryan Silverfield. Just like Penny Hardaway. He shouldn't and he's not going to be fired. But a little more tougher scrutiny, more thorough examination of every game is probably now necessary. You can't lose to any of these teams at AAC. It is horrendous. The AAC is really bad, and the Tigers had their shot this year, and they're not going to be in the playoffs. They're not going to be in the AAC championship game.
Yeah, no, you're right. But those two teams that all preseason we were talking about the parallels, and unless something the Ole Miss catches fire, they looked really good Saturday against Arkansas, if they keep riding this momentum and do something. But if not, if they lose to Georgia, those parallels will continue, and it'll be two seasons where you had those expectations before the year.
And criticism will be fair.
Definitely, 100%. So it is still interesting, all those parallels between Memphis and Ole Miss. What I could have done without yesterday, Keith Smith was with us, usually joins us today, but we moved him to yesterday's show, and I asked Keith yesterday, Keith, it feels like there are a lot more injuries in the NBA this season than in recent years, especially to start the season, than in recent years. And he said, you're absolutely right. There are a ton of injuries around the league, and that a lot of people have been pointing that out and kind of talking about maybe why that is an issue this year. But we got another injury to a star player last night. 76ers guard Tyrese Maxey is expected to miss 2 weeks with a right hamstring injury. The 76ers are now 1-6 on the season, and for most of this early part of the season, they've been without Paul George and Joel Embiid. Paul George has returned. He's been back for a couple games now, but Joel Embiid, we're still waiting to see his debut for the season. We know he's serving a 3-game suspension for shoving a columnist after the game against the Grizzlies last weekend, but it seems like and we talked to Keith about this as well, that suspension won't start unless he's healthy and ready to play, and it feels like the 76ers have already said he's healthy, he's ready to go, let's serve this 3-game suspension, and Joel Embiid is expected to make his season debut Tuesday night against the New York Knicks. So we'll see what he adds, but definitely, a weird start to the season for the 76ers. We talked about it before the year. If you're the 76ers, you have to stay healthy, and certainly through the first 7 games of the season, they've been anything but healthy.
Could have done without this one for sure, Bryant. The off-season move we were all waiting for as Cardinal fans. Wilson Contreras moving to first base. He's going to be good over there.
Sure.
And he's in there for his bat, regardless of where he plays in the field. I love the signing when the Cardinals signed him. It almost completely, royally screwed that up. But that's not the off-season move that will make many differences in 2025. Maybe it'll be like when Joe Torre was traded to the Cardinals and then made the position switch from catcher to third base, and ended up being MVP in 71 on a not a very good team. Maybe Wilson Contreras can do that.
I sure hope so. And like you said, it's his bat that you really won, and put him out of position. I think he'll be fine at first base. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me right after we get off. Reb Talk comes on these airwaves, and I'll join David Kellum live on the square in Oxford, and then Coach Lane Kiffin will talk about the game. And also tonight we'll keep a close eye on. I wish I could be in Baltimore for Ravens and all those Heisman Trophy winners we talked about.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one tonight. I'll beam there to that game tonight. Bengals and Ravens, Prime Video. Should be a good one. Two offenses that have played really well this season or looking better. You know, the Bengals looking to get back to 500. The Ravens have looked really, really good since they beat the Cowboys. We'll beam there, see what happens in that game. But, you know, some good action. We got a couple NBA games, a couple college football games, and then obviously the Prime game tonight in the NFL.
Yeah, I got two college football games tonight. App State at Coastal Carolina, not playing for a lot. Both trying to get up bowl eligible. FAU at ECU, not playing for a lot. The AAC is almost unwatchable to me. I'm sorry. It's just a really hideous league. 3 NBA games tonight. We'll keep an eye on all those. One of those, Jazz at Milwaukee. Boy, both of those teams scuffling. But also Klingon versus Wemby tonight. Portland at San Antonio.
Yeah, that will be a lot of fun to watch as well. Like you mentioned, the college football and then the NFL. And a reminder, if you don't got Prime, you're not going to be watching it. You can listen to it right here on Sports 56. We'll have coverage starting at 7 o'clock of that game between the Ravens and the Bengals. But that's all the time we have this afternoon. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.